flash, of course. Solka's going to give UCal the respect he deserves, so I like that.
Yeah, you know, in some of these straight-up skirmishes like this, too, especially where you don't know where Rakan is, you really do have to respect that if you're Solka. So, small victory here for UCal. Yeah, certainly could add up later. Okay, this isn't it.
Kanan is, he's an angry boy. And he's got a teleport coming through for support as well. Doran's going to have to flash. And Solka teleporting down towards that bottom side just to add an assist.
And yeah, I don't mind the teleport here either, even though the escape is real, because this actually gives them such good positional advantage now on this streak. Their second Infernal. So the timing of this, it had two benefits, right? The teleport.
Yeah.
So now if you're KT, like, you don't want to contest this because it's not a fight you could take, but you can't give it up if you're in a catch-22 situation here.
They do have vision, though. We haven't actually swept out this trap in the wall. It doesn't actually matter because, of course, the Drake is going to evaporate. Kingan's there, and that sort of means they have plenty of damage to take that one down.
They made no choice, KT. They didn't contest, nor did they go elsewhere on the map. They just kind of watched it go down. It was like their game plan was to steal it with a Void Seeker, and then or a Spear, and they were like, okay, if that doesn't work, then just out of luck, I guess. That's really unfortunate for KT, but I mean, they just can't fight yet. Like, they just need UCal to get those items completed. It's because Banshee's Veil now.
I'm trying to work out when they can fight, Wolf. That's my issue, is I don't know whether this composition necessarily outscales. Like, yes, Victor does a lot of late game damage, theoretically. The same could be said for Kai'Sa, but I mean, Xayah's real good late game as well. Like, you include the chaos that all these bubbles flying around from the Zoe's going to give, the fact that Pyosik is going to be so tanky, and also this stun bot that can really be a problem.
Yeah, it goes back to what you were saying about the lack of a tank, right? If you had any sort of tankiness with this composition, then you could maybe buy time for UCal to do that damage, but there's just so much.
Well, Doran as well, he's going to have his wallop ran out of the way from, as Pyosik is going to get around there, but does make it back to relative safety, and Gideon was in the area, so not going to be punished just yet. He's pulled back the farm quite nicely, to be honest, as Doran, but whether it's going to be enough, as the Banshee's Veils for both of these mid laners circling, as here's the teleport. Doran getting into position. Becca is over here as the headbutt is actually just going to trade places there between Zeus and Becca. That was very strange.
Becca is such a good Alistar player, though. He knows exactly where he needs to be, and he's obviously suffered to match the rotations of the Rakan, but he's always where he needs to be when these teleports are coming through. And like,
I love this.
Yeah, he nullifies the teleport play, and now King gets a turret. So you're still winning as DRX here, unfortunately.
But they also don't take the fight. Like, there are a lot of teams that would have seen that, and they're like, oh, but maybe we can just fight them and win here. But DRX realized that they don't even need to go for it. They don't have to try and make that play, because Kingan is now being given all of this space bottom side, and so they take yet another turret. They extend that lead ever further. It's still only about 4K, so it's not exactly like insurmountable leads or anything like that. As mic issue, guys, maybe again, as we do have 2.5 minutes on that Infernal Soul, and I think that will be a large deciding factor here in this game.
Yeah, I mean, look, this game is really for KT. You're hoping that the huge mistake gets made, or you could find a way into a fight where somebody's out of position. And a lot of this is on, obviously, Rakan, so that's why you're seeing Zeus, like, rotate around so aggressively. He's trying to find an opportunity. He's trying to find someone pathing into a bad spot in the jungle where they have vision control, or just to try to steal some of that vision away. We have a headset with issue with Bow, I think it was.
Oh, Becca? I think, I don't know, it was an Alistar issue, some sort of issue.
Oh, it's the floating
Alistar issue.
Oh, no.
Oh, dear.
Trial version.
This is actually,
this has happened a couple of times. We've actually seen it just chill in the game for a while, and had people not really mind too much about it. But we are going to be back into the game. Basically immediately. I'm glad that, DRX managed to get a pause back, KT getting all of that pause advantage, and DRX immediately taking that one back. So a 1-for-1.
Definitely happened when they had that little bump engage. Zeus running into Becca running into Zeus over there. That's where that. That's a visual bug that makes Alistar look like he's surfing on an invisible surfboard.
Yeah, in the sky.
Trial version.
So luckily, it's an easy fix. Usually a restart will do it.
I want to know why it feels like it's just the Alistar that just tends to go into the sky sometimes.
Trial version.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I think someone actually, like, figured it out. I remember seeing a post about this where someone was like, this is why this happens. should be fixable.
Trial
I don't know.
version.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what the reason was. But
Something spaghetti, something.
yeah, I mean, definitely related to that.
Yep. Well, 2 minutes
Trial
until
version.
we've got that very decisive fight on our hands. Becca's going to walk over some traps. There's a lot of vision here down that DRX is going to have to deal with, but they're just immediately going to dive onto the Baron.
I mean, they have so much. There's clear speed is insane at this stage, and even though there's so much vision here for KT, like KT are not here at all. Like not even close to here, nowhere near.
It's just stolen.
They shouldn't expect this, and it's like, why? Where do you think they were?
Oh, that bubble was beautiful. Grand entrance is going to come through, but the headbutt pole is just too good, and DRX. They turn a Baron into a pick, and then they'll be able to turn all of this into the Infernal Soul if they would like to. But before that, there's a bit of a date with the inner turret here in the mid lane. So far, like, just the macro play out of DRX, their play around the control that they've had in the lanes has just been beautiful.
Like you said it really well when you said they kind of choked KT out, right? I mean, there's just not much you can do as KT when there's very little vision, and even if you do have vision of, you know, like, because they had a little bit of vision that we were just talking about earlier, if you have vision, you're just unable to deal with this, and this is just a bubble that hits so far away. And yeah, I mean, he tries to buffer it away, but there's a follow-up knock up there from the Alistar, super easy cleanup.
Yeah.
And like, you know, if you try to contest the Baron, I don't think you could take that fight either. But, you know, you do neither again, but, like, it's not KT's fault at this point. It's not like they're doing all the wrong macro decisions here. There's just not many decisions they can make that are smart. You know, you're picking your poison rather than trying to choose the right move.
But also, like, they sort of dug this hole for themselves, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is the problem. It's like, it's not their fault recently, but it is still their fault. It's just the problem happened a long time ago as Yukal's going to teleport in to death. That was, he's done this before. Some of his teleports have been questionable, and now the rest of KT have been routed. You think you're going to outrun an Udyr even with all of your ultimates trying to push him back? The answer is no. His bow is flashing forward. The bubble's going to connect as well as Doran knows that he's dead. But DRX are not done yet. Yoshik finds his target. So does the shock blast. Gideon's going to die. Goes golden for a moment just to see what's going to happen, and death is what's going to happen, Wolf. And DRX may not even need to go and get themselves an Infernal Soul. They might just win the game.
Yep, I mean, they're going to use a stopwatch here to actually get this turret. The minions will finally arrive, but I think they are just going to go for the end. There's just simply no reason to push the issue and go back when they have Baron minions. And that's going to be it. DRX, very convincing game, great macro control, vision control, start to finish. This is a great example game of how to play your comp to its fullest potential and to shut out KT Rolster. And it goes back a lot of this to the blind Gnar pick. You talked about it very early on in the game when he was struggling in the top side of the map, and I mean, that empowered a Jace. They had mid prio, they had bot prio. In some of these picks for KT Rolster, it felt like we're waiting for the plan to come together. In the draft, it just didn't. It felt like little pieces of a puzzle that didn't actually form the whole picture. Yeah. And DRX just played a great game. They made very few mistakes across the board, and it's hard to win when you're behind like that. I mean, you know, you and I both touched on it. KT got so far behind that, like, at that in the game, like, there isn't much you can do, you know, because you just lost control.
And also, like, we were talking about this before because we saw a lot of blue side first pick Udyrs last week, and it didn't really work. And we had discussions during that game, like, you need to have priority in all of your lanes in order for Udyr to properly work. And what came up in my mind was that Udyr needs to be a red side pick. You pick Udyr on red side, you're able to actually get all of that control that you're looking for because you have that last pick option. You can shore up all of your lanes. Not only did DRX have the Udyr on red side, but they also had a blind pick Gnar that they can just take the Jace away, like grab themselves a fantastic matchup, and then get a decent matchup in mid lane as well. Like, I don't know, it all just sort of worked out here for DRX, but it felt like this game was very much a draft diff issue, and it wasn't even necessarily that DRX's draft was so much better, it was that KT's draft didn't really do anything. It did like, they had a few ideas. There were some sort of idea of, like, team fight in there and Wombo in there, but they never really got to that point because no one could actually get any control at the beginning of the game.
They didn't actually make the hard choices early. They, like, just kind of, like, they picked the Gnar blind. They're like, well, this should be fine against almost anything. Kind of like that, right? Or like the Kai'Sa first pick is
one of the more counterable top laners that we have available. As we do have the post-match, I believe. So let's have a look at all of the damage that this Jace did. And it was a fair bit, but as you can see, the damage numbers aren't high because we didn't have team fights. Like, none of it happened. We had a Baron stolen away that just... After that, KT sort of ran up to try and stop something, and Yukao teleports and dies, and the game's over.
The Jace pick was so bold in the draft, right? We looked at it and we were like, okay, that's a really early pick. You know, they could have waited to see how the rest of KT's drafts stacked out before they decided to make that choice. But they were like, no, we're actually just gonna pivot straight into let's control the top side of the map. That's exactly where we're gonna go. Yeah. We're gonna shut down one of the two players where KT rely on so much. Doran, he becomes literally useless. We have this Udyr pick, works with a Jace. We're gonna crush that top side, get that orange buff, and they ran away with the game.
They absolutely did, and the Udyr worked out perfectly as well. I mean, Gideon was shut out of his jungle. Really nicely done by DRX. Can they do it 2 games in a row, though? That's the question. Most of the time this season, it's an absolute no, but we're going to have to find out after the break for game number 2. Don't go anywhere, guys.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
나 살짝 멀어, 살짝 멀어. 저 가봐. 쭉 가자. 상거리 줄게. 쭉 가.
Trial version.
계속 가. 끝까지 가. 가봐. 내가 몸 댈게. 다르지만. 더 가. 내가 몸 댈게. 내가 쭉 가. 더 가. 쭉 가. 끝까지 가. 이거 니달리 텔리? 이거 웨이브 살짝 걸리게 넣어봐. 레이블 온다. 웨이브 온다. 파워 좀 맞았어. 몸 댈게. 끝내면 하나? 20초야. 끝내. 끝내자. 끝났어. 천천히 차부터. 카이사 도플, 빅토르 도플. 타워. 아래 타워. 이쪽. 노플이야. 노플이야. 타. 끝나. 야, 죽이던 거. 뭐야? 카이사 보자. 선비는 뭐야? 아니, 살려줬어, 나 한 번.
Trial version. Trial version.
Forward, Peanut finds himself in position once again. Fate's Call is going to be available, but Pop Blossom goes down first, and now Teddy is trying to fight this one out. Great snare underneath the turret. Onto Kellen is the immediate kill of the week. Double kill comes through. Carrier still trying to get out of this one. He's not going to be able to, but now Peanut's playing Alcove League of Legends when he absolutely doesn't want to, and Shirley is destroying the mid lane.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
Only really gets trying to make it out of the fight, and Summon's going to get closed in on Dreadline, does absolutely nothing, as now the Rel goes in. The Magnet Storm is massive. The ulti from the Hecarim is decent, but look, everyone has the Grievous Wounds. There's the Empress denial, actually, onto Lim's Sandbox, and another pentakill for Ghost. How many times does this guy need to wrap up team fight?
Trial version. Trial version. version. Trial version.
On his way out of here, and he's
Trial
even
version.
going in, flashes over the wall. This guy is just insane. And DRX, they're not going to give up just yet. This is pretty dangerous. You've got to respect that Kaisa damage right now.
Trial version.
But they are not. The damage goes in. Morgan, I think he went a little bit too far. As in goes Chovy. Now they're looking to turn it around. Chovy gets into that back line, and he doesn't have a front line
Trial
anymore.
version.
He's going to take down Pyo. I don't think he cares. And he's going to get the blue buff. Make it 2. Can we make it 3? There it is. He's going to pick up the 4th as well. It's not a penta, but it's good
Trial
enough for
version.
Chovy and his 6,400 damage.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
Tunnel Life could rotate, and guess what?
Yeah. It also highlights the insane power of Kaisa's kit. The fact that she can just totally reposition in that case. As here we go. Everybody tries to flash away from that one. 3 flashes were used. And yes, they get away from the Malphite, but it doesn't look like they'll get away from anything else. Bao is desperately trying to carry this one, but he just cannot at this point in time. It's a bit too far gone, as you're not going to be able to run away from this comp by
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
Is still alive for an incredibly long amount of time. Somehow, some way thought he was definitely
Trial
dead.
version.
Here comes Teddy. Not quite able to follow it up as we're going real deep here. Barrel gets everybody at T1. Have massively overextended
Trial
under the
version.
turret. Wow.
I mean, you have to respect the Alistair. You can't just walk forward like that.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
Welcome back everybody, and we are kicking off the first match and the analyst desk for March with KT taking on DRX.
version.
They will be joined by Surinyan, Victory, and Gorilla. DRX wants to reach to a higher point, and KT Roaster, they really need
Trial
to
version.
solidify their spot in the playoffs. And this is a new game with a new patch, but we didn't see any difference, to be honest. So let's take a look at the
Trial
draft.
version.
Well, Samira, did get nerfed too bad that she just cannot make any presence in the pick and then either. But overall, we didn't spot any huge difference outside of the Semiria priority. And KT Roaster, they had a very bad draft. First pick on the blue side is really significant, and their choice was Kai'Sa, which means they have to play around this pick. They have to kind of make the best value out of their B1 card. But KT only kind of skewered the Kai'Sa pick, and they were not able to have a huge priority based on that picks. And also, none of their lane had control over the lane. They were willing to take a more different, difficult comp compared to DRX. None of their lane had the agenda to start off a fight. The DRX, thanks to the draft coming out from KT Roaster, they were able to have a very easy and comfortable pick to play out this game. So because KT took V1 Kai'Sa, they had to let Pyosik to play Udyr, and we saw a lot of kind of synergy coming out from Rakan Udyr, so KT was forced to take away that Rakan. And also they banned away Orianna because of this Orianna, Rakan, and Udyr kind of power. Even though DRX this time around, they were not focusing around the chemistry with Udyr and other picks, but still they had the priority in lane. I think DRX was able to take this game away based on their draft strategy. Now let's take a look how the top lane got dismantled by the play of Pyosik. At around 3-minute mark into this game, Udyr finishes his clear. So he looks for a turret dive around the top lane, paying a visit to his old fella Doran. He skipped the scuttle because he had so much downtime at this point in this game. Nar was already in a very hard matchup, but because of this small gank from Pyosik, he got chunked down, so he was not able to lane by himself. And later on, Pyosik pays another visit with a Herald in his inventory, and there is no way for Doran to survive this dive. That Flash couldn't really do anything in order to save. And then with the Herald, they were able to get the first turret and the kill. So Kingen, after that play, he was about 1k gold ahead of Doran. I think we could see this coming based on the pick and ban already. I mean, Italy is a decent pick, but still, Udyr is better. So there was nothing KT could change based on their picks. When it comes down to the Gnar and Jace matchup, Jace is the one that wins lane. So DRX had a better comp around the top side of the map, whereas KT Roaster, they did not have any outstanding piece for their comp. Now let's see how DRX was able to take away that Herald very fast. When Baron was up, Victor with TP was on the top lane, whereas Gnar, who did not have teleport, went to the bottom lane, and then DRX had this vision, and they spotted that Kai'Sa was looking for a reset. So instantly they started off the Baron. So Hybrid did cancel his back, and he wanted to group up for this Baron fight, but still, KT Roaster, the way they allocated their player was really odd. Italy and Rakan and Gnar was far away from the Baron, so they were not able to stop the try coming out from DRX. And DRX, they had a lot of reason to start off the Baron, and they were able to get even ahead of KT Roaster after that Baron was secured. This was a game that DRX once again proved why they are one of the strong teams in the LCK. They know how to close out the game. They know how to consolidate the lead that they have in their hands. With a very solid performance coming out from DRX, they were able to take game number 1, and POG will be going over to Pyosik on Udyr as well. POG number 6 for Pyosik and 100% kill participation on Udyr in this game, which means he was the one that got everything done in this particular game. This is the game that we always want from Udyr in the LCK. Based on the lane priority, he can make a lot of kicks, he can get a lot of play based on the control they have. This is the standard and the picture-perfect Udyr play that we kind of dream of. Udyr Rakan, Udyr Orianna was the things that KT Roasters were too worried about. But still, DRX proved that they can play without other links for Udyr. Pyosik is now on the 3rd place in the POC standings in the LCK, the only jungler on the board. And a very fancy hairstyle coming out from Pyosik today was also on point. And once again, keep in mind, don't make this player play Udyr. And also, Tingen was able to take 3 votes as well, but still Pyosik, with the doubling the number of the POG, he was able to get the POG. Now let's take a look at game number 2, whether DRX can finally get a 2-0 win up against KT Roaster. Back to our casters.
Trial version.
Thank you so much, G-Sun, as usual, for the absolutely immaculate translation of the analyst desk. And yeah, Pyosik does get a well-deserved player of the game. I think that Kingen certainly deserves the votes that he got as well. Playing through that top side so beautifully, and he also made sure that they had that priority that they needed on the top side of the map. It's exactly where DRX wanted to be playing around that game, and all of the pieces fell into place. But I think a lot of it did come down to KT doing nothing and losing the game.
Yeah, I mean, their draft doesn't really have it didn't have a clear theme, right? Didn't have a clear message, whereas the draft for DRX was so well crafted, and they went all in on controlling the top side of the map, not only in their draft, but then, of course, how they played. And,
yeah,
you know, I voted for Kingen in the top side of the map because I thought how he set that up for Pyosik was beautiful, but, I mean, it was a 2-man job, right? And they completely nullified Doran's presence in the game. He wasn't able to do anything, and he couldn't build tanky in the game as well, so... You know, they just didn't have a front line. They were getting constantly chipped down. The composition worked so perfectly, and it was so clear thematically from start to finish. As soon as they locked in the chase, where this draft was going. They went into the Zoe pick, and then for KT, like the final pick in Italy, you know, you and I had talked about, we had a bit of question marks about that. Didn't work out, got out-jungled, just didn't have any presence on the map. Lane priority made it so difficult to play the Nidalee.
But also just had no lanes to gank, right? Like, it wasn't really a Nidalee game. Like, I don't know, it didn't really fit the situation. And
they clearly didn't have a plan either. Like, they waited till the last seconds of the pick timer before they locked it in. And it's like, you can't be drafted like this anymore, KT, and it's been an issue for them all season. We haven't talked about it too much, but so much of their drafting has been based around these tempo plays, right? Like the Samira that's now no longer relevant, and the Victor that they play almost every single game, whether it's UCal or not.
Trial version.
Well, we have no subs by the looks of things, as KT will be keeping their current roster. DRX, of course, will be keeping theirs as well, because there are no changes when it comes to that. And let's see how things do change. So far, no difference with what the teams have chosen to ban, but Udyr being banned on red right now here for KT makes a lot of sense.
Pyosik rubs his chin on that one. He's like, I see you. See where you guys are going with this. A little bit harder to play that Udyr pick on the blue side for first pick. We usually do see
I agree.
The Kaisa. You and I were talking about this in the break, actually, off cast.
Version.
That means it almost feels like DRX get an extra freebie ban because of this. We'll see the Hecarim ban once again against Gideon. Only played it one time this season, but something he's shown quite a lot of in the past. Likes to play it a lot in solo queue, so not a huge shocker. And we're kind of thinning the jungle pull out here so much so that it makes me wonder if DRX will actually take the Lilia potentially here first instead of going for the Kaisa pick.
Yeah, they could definitely go for it if they wanted to. Rel is going to be taken away, and there is the Lilia ban, like you were talking about. So I do like that one being taken away. Does mean that it feels like there's no real first pick jungler, unless DRX do want to take the Renekton, which is now left up. Did suffer a bit of a nerf to the healing on Call of the Week on this patch, but I don't know whether it's the be-all and end-all, and it's going to be Seraphine instead, another champion that was banned last time around. This time left available, a flex pick as well, so can be going into the mid lane or into the bottom lane, and already I'm still liking it. I just feel like DRX, like, I don't know what's happened, but their drafting is just so good.
It's so clean, and it's also, it just feels like they if they when they draft for first picks like this, they just slowly build the comp around it. Right now, Aphelios Thresh is an opportunity that KT Rolster do have here. Hybrid loves his Aphelios. We know this. And last time the Thresh was banned, in fact. So not able to be played.
Definitely one of Zeus's best champions as well.
Yeah, so
I really enjoyed his Thresh.
You know, this is a nice rotation back here for KT, but like I was saying, DRX have such a... Oh, there's the Jinx.
Here we go.
There it is.
I like it. Okay, finally. Seeing some Jinx action here in the LCK. Took us a couple of games to get there, but very glad that it has finally happened. And let's see what DRX's response is going to be to the newly buffed hyper carry, as it will not be Viego, because he's banned. As Pioshik going back to another one of his favorites potentially. We'll see where he does land, as it will be the Dr. Mundo.
Okay.
Pretty gross with Seraphine. Of course, the Moonstone has been nerfed a little bit on this patch, but I don't think it's enough to stop Seraphine from being disgusting.
I mean, he's going to be so difficult to kill.
Oh yeah.
You know, especially like Jinx can certainly in the later stages of the game help chip away and blow him up, but we're going to need some sort of harder damage here, more consistent damage as well for KT, as we will see the Kai'Sa coming through here. It's just a safe pick. And we don't even necessarily know if the Seraphine is going to be mid or bot. It could certainly still be bottom. And that's another oppressive lane you can have there. It's very annoying to deal with as the Jinx.
Yeah.
Graves going to be the choice here, actually. Our first jungle locked in, and first time of the day here that we see that. But I think that with the Mundo as the choice here for DRX, like, you do need a little bit more damage, right, to be able to knock that out. And I think it needs to be more reliable damage than something AP. So I like this choice, actually, given the Mundo on the field.
Let's see what the bans are going to give us, as it looks like KT just going to try and take away from the support pool just a little bit. We'll see whether that does just put Seraphine down there. Could theoretically be a thing.
Yeah.
As a Sylas ban is very curious.
Sylas is so good against Seraphine because he could steal her ultimate. Her ultimate is super busted, so like, if he ends up stealing her ultimate, then he can actually get into a place that Seraphine can't, and then set up an insane encore. So that's a really scary thing. So I think that's the main reason why we see that ban. Even though we haven't really seen that as a counter pick in the LCK yet, I think the potential, especially the draft that KT has so far, makes it a very terrifying option.
Yep. Also, you can steal Mundo's ult, which would also be pretty silly. As the Renekton gonna once again be banned away. Now, where does KT go? They've got some solo lanes to pick up here. They banned away the Gnar this time, so they don't fall into the Gnar trap this time around. But not exactly a lot of just cookie-cutter options outside of, I guess, the mid lane, and the Orianna is going to be the choice that Yukal's going to head towards.
No great ball carrier at the moment, so we'll see what they end up getting for their final pick, that top counter pick.
Yeah.
Because that's obviously where, you know, they're going to need to find a ball carrier. This Orianna pick is going to be very difficult to execute and get high value out of, especially because the front line for DRX is insane right now. With the Mundo, it's going to be constantly healed, and the fact that they have the Seraphine there that makes it so difficult to approach a team fight is... Wukong, okay.
Blind Wukong is a little bit frightening, because it's not necessarily the least exploitable pick up there towards the top side of the map, but there have been a few things that have already been banned away. Does give them a lot of team fight here on the side of DRX.
Yeah, and a lot of skirmish power too early on around the first few objectives. Blitzcrank!
What's up? All right. We got Hook City on the bottom side of the map. Thresh and Blitzcrank going at it, of course. Jinx doesn't like Blitzcrank at all. Because, not exactly the most mobile. Does have Thresh there for a bit of a lantern, but can you click it in time to not be rocket grabbed to your death? That is going to be the question. Does confirm that Seraphine will be heading towards the mid lane, and I do like the Gragas as the option. This is actually what I was going to talk about for KT. A much better draft here in game number 2. Certainly something that makes a lot more sense outside of the making zero sense that they had in game 1.
Sure. I am very concerned about being able to get consistent damage off in these team fights. I think a lot of this is going to be based around how well the explosive casts go and how well the shockwaves go for KT to set up some of these fights, because You know, Jinx has a decent amount of poke that she could put into the team fights, but if she gets in range of all of the lockdown that DRX have, I mean, Wukong can blow her up in a second. Mundo obviously going to be able to slow. He's going to be unkillable. Then you have Encore, you have Blitzcrank hooks. Like, positioning is going to be everything for KT rules. So and you only have one Lantern, so you've got one out, and then after that, you just have to be so careful. If you get ahead with KT's comp, I think you're a little bit less worried about things like that. But from behind, we might have another situation on our hands where KT just can't make power plays because they can't get vision, they can't control warding with the Thresh because they're just constantly under threat of being picked.
That's true.
With Killer Instinct as well on top of it all, like, you have to be so careful if you're KT in the later parts of the game.
They do have a lot of disengage options. They've got the Shockwave there to, you know, help peel as well for the Jinx. Explosive Cask is going to be so important here for KT, just because Pioshik, he's going to run at the Jinx, and what do? You know, you have to move this guy out of there, because he does go so fast, and also just takes a lot of killing to get him out of there. But Dr. Mundo is another one of these awkward picks, you know, that doesn't necessarily do anything if you are behind. Like, if you have to fear the damage of the Mundo, then yes, he's a great pick, very impressive. But it's a snowball champion, so DRX are going to have to try and get some work done in the early stages of this one. And as we make our way onto the Rift, DRX have a habit of going to 3 games in almost every single one of their matches. And look, based on the draft, I think this is looking much better for KT this time around. However, they still need to play it out effectively.
Yeah, we'll see how the execution is. There is kill pressure potentially on the mid lane for KT if UCal did a nice shockwave, force a flash, go for the next shockwave. Like, you have to be careful with Solka. And this matchup will be very interesting to watch. We've seen, I think it's actually like a 3-0. It's either 2 or 3-0 for the Orianna versus the Seraphine right now in the LCK. It's hard to all in as Seraphine. Like, it's very difficult to get a kill onto the Orianna, so you never really have that feeling of like, okay, well, I can also turn this around. Because not really, actually. You can live forever, but you can't really threaten to kill UCal.
It's also a Guardian Seraphine as well. We've seen this a little bit coming from the mid lane. Does mean that you do lose out on having any sort of keystone in the laning phase, but it just turns you into one of these ultra supports in the later stages of the game to throw out as many of these shields and heals as you possibly can. So, currently 1-0 is Solka on this particular pick. Last time was a bit of a genius draft out of DRX. Around the Seraphine, and this feels pretty similar to what they had there, but we'll just have to see how these lanes are going to go and how the Wukong is going to fare in this matchup against the Gragas.
Yeah, it's a very stable matchup, I think, for Doran in the top side of the map. Like, as long as he doesn't make any major mistakes, he should be okay.
I don't think it punishes the Wukong, though, necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's kind of like a slow matchup where you're kind of making sure he doesn't kill you, because like, if you make a mistake, he will kill you. You have to play very safe and very passively, but you'll be okay.
Yeah, and you can also push pretty hard on the Wukong as well, just because your decoy allows you to be a little bit safer than you otherwise could be. Play those mind games, which is pretty good as Solka. Just taking a bit of damage there, but the dissonance is going to completely miss, so that's going to help him out.
The way that Solka is going to be able to kind of take trades here is a little bit awkward too against the Orianna. Like, if he tries to Q the Orianna, then the wave gets controlled by UCal, and if he Qs the wave, then UCal can harass him. So,
yeah, a little bit awkward. There's a bit of a Nimbus strike, and King just going to immediately decoy afterwards. Pioshik taking down his blue buff right now. Once again, Lil Ball Skin is on show. Thankfully for Cloud Templar, he's not actually on the desk here today, so doesn't need to get too upset about this skin. It's something that does get spoke about a lot.
You know, I never thought I'd ever see the day of casting a Blitzcrank game. On my main for so many years. I don't really play on that much anymore, but one of the ones I picked when I was learning the game many, many years ago. Happy to see him in a pro game. Big Mad Life fan myself.
Yep, and this is actually the Marta skin. We see Marta used to always use the Hot Rod Blitzcrank. I like to think that it's a bit of a shout out. My personal favorite is definitely not Blitzcrank, mostly because I just like definitely not skins.
They're pretty good.
Yeah. The old fake mustache and the glasses just does it for me. It's the good stuff. As Doran is starting to get control back here in this lane, does have, of course, the sustain advantage up the wazoo. Feels very good about that, but you can see Kingen with this lane pushed back towards him. He's going to be okay. Doesn't have a lot of mana, and just waiting for an opportune time to head back and augment this build. Ahsoka's now starting to be able to push this lane out. Of course, once you get a few extra points in your abilities, Seraphine can just wipe out minion waves pretty comfortably.
Yeah, as long as you use your empowered Q, like you always get the ranged minions. Yeah, like instantly one shot, and if you time it right, you can clear a whole wave. Love the patience at which Zeus and Hyber are actually playing this lane out. So there's always a threat that you could get hooked in, but they're using the minion wave very well.
Kingen just hoping to pick up as many of these minions as possible. I think if Doran had hit a few more of these barrels, he'd be feeling a little bit better, but fortunately not so much at this stage.
Yeah, he's actually controlling this matchup really well, though.
Trial version.
You know, all things considered, like, this is a very great start for the Gragas. DRX still has both of his biscuits as well.
Kingen just getting belly booped over and over again as both of them going for a bit of a reset here as the wave is parked just outside of Kingen's turret. He's going to go home, grabs himself a Sheen.
Trial version.
And, okay, Becca thinking about going for a bit of a hook, but the Lantern is there, preemptively. And they do miss out on the experience of one of these minions, but otherwise it's okay. Gideon moving on down, but no one's really here to go for any sort of gank. And so far, this game very slow. Yeah, and let's talk about who this sort of benefits, right? Because KT, they have a lot of scaling elements in their composition, a lot of CC in these late game team fights. I feel like their comp certainly plays front to back a lot better. But DRX have the Seraphine, right? And they have the Mundo, and both of these picks, if they get out of control, can really take over a game.
Yeah.
And so the scaling aspect of both of these teams is
good for
much closer than you may expect when you're looking at an Orianna Jinx comp, right?
Yeah, and I think that I really like this for late game for DRX just because of their playstyle as well. Like, their decision-making in the late game is so incredibly good. I mean, it's something we've been talking about all year. Sometimes they just kind of miss the boat in the early parts of the game, and it's like, well, DRX, how could they win this? Then they win a 35-minute game because they make the perfect proactive play. Piotrek is so good at that. So it's a really important ward there for Zeus. Yeah. But if you end up, making one mistake against this Blitzcrank comp, and then one of your damage dealers is taken out, like you'll never be able to kill the Mundo. And if one of your damage dealers gets chunked out and gets pushed away, like there's so many ways that DRX just snowball and steamroll over you in the later parts of the game, especially 35 minutes plus if we get there. So that's what I'm a little bit concerned about for KT. Even though their comp does scale well too.
Yep, and they have backup damage as well in the Graves. Like in case Hybrid gets picked off, like it's not like they're going to be up the creek without a paddle, as it were.
Yeah, that's why I really like this Graves pick. Just because you need that extra 80 damage here, I think. Lilia is just she doesn't do damage quickly enough. She doesn't have enough burst, enough to finish targets off. So I like this adaptation here for KT a lot, given the Mundo pick.
Right now you can see that Hybrid and Zeus have a lot of control here of this bottom side. Items completely even between the two teams, but KT now with the push advantage. And they have all of the control of the river. That's why a lot of that does need to be given over, as here's the double Cyclone. Piotrek coming on in here with his ultimate rolling. Flashes forward to avoid the cast, because Doran's just going for it. Wanting to try and get what he can because he knows that he's dead, but First Blood will go over to the Mundo, and that is disaster. That's said already that if the Mundo gets out of control, then he's going to demand way more respect than you can possibly give on the side of KT. And this has already started off poorly.
This is disastrous. And it was a really nicely timed rotation. The cask was attempted from Doran. Oh dear. Nice flash. No, we're not done here on the top lane yet.
Yep, smoke screen comes in. As you can see, Kingen actually going for a bit of a fight here. He's definitely dead. So Gideon going to answer for that one. A little bit greedy there for Kingen to push out that lane. Doesn't actually throw his flash into the mix, though. So not going to lose out on that one, I guess, as Becca goes for a bit of a hook. Doesn't quite land. It's still getting his eye in, as you can see, as we're going to check out this gank once again on the top side.
Piotrek just blast cones over, and Doran is just well and truly very, very far away. Then you see the cast comes out, and Pioshik has already pre-flashed it, and it just gets knocked away. But like he's like, well, I'm still in between you and a turret, my friend. I'm sorry. And then he stays, King and stays, and Gideon says, well, you're not allowed to be here actually anymore.
Trial version.
Does mean Gideon gets to take down the Rift Herald as well. Thankfully, there's no Nas in this game, so he's not going to have that one stolen from him. So that is definitely good news. We'll see whether that's given over to Doran to get him back into a better position. But at the moment, as you can see, still winning out in farm by about 20 CS, having a good time here. But DRX are going to be getting to work on this Infernal Drake.
Yeah, and that's
there's not really going to be much that KT can do about this.
You know, we talk about Drakes a lot in the LCK, and it's usually about whether it's a Cloud Drake or not, and it won't be in this case, but because it can be a Mountain Drake, like if DRX get Mountain...
Ocean?
Yeah,
both of them are insane.
Yeah, I mean, both of those are insane. So, like,
this
is one of those moments where you talk about Drakes and you're like, okay, this actually matters a lot. Like, this is extremely important that KT need to start getting control over these Drakes and make sure that DRX cannot threaten these soul fights and potentially get either soul, whichever one it ends up being, because, as you mentioned, both of those are extremely great with these Seraphim Mundo comp that they're running. Yeah. Even Blitzcrank is tanky. They'll be very happy with this.
Absolutely. King getting a little bit aggressive here. Does have his Shane and Pahage put together. But still not towards that Mythic just yet, as the Zap is going to go a little bit wide there onto Bao, and Becker is going to make his way back down towards this bottom lane. Gideon just biding his time, lying in wait, looking for an opportunity. Not going to really find it here, and is just going to vacate the area. He's got his chickens and rocks to take if he would like to, so probably wants to get up there and make sure that he gets through the newly nerfed jungle as fast as he can.
It doesn't seem like Yukel's made any sort of attempts to all-in Solko or threaten him in the lane at all, and that mid-matchup has just been extremely stable between the two. They're at the exact same CSs. Hold that thought, Pioshik is looking for more here. He's spotted.
Yeah. Ward goes down, and Pioshik is just going to get out. But he had no jungle. He was just looking for something to do. And the hook going to come through a little bit late there, as the Lantern, I believe, was already down. But still, good preemptive Lantern there to be taken. Trading some cooldowns here, as you can see the Jinx going very, very well in this lane so far.
Yeah.
And she's a very, very heavily scaling AD carry.
Zeus's positioning has just been fantastic throughout this lane. I mean, every time I look at where he's standing, there's just no Blitzcrank threat. Like, this is one of the first times he'll actually be under threat, and he's already here with the Lantern. Solo played by all three players.
Yeah, that was actually really cute.
Like, all three players played that about perfectly. We were involved in that. Bao, you know, he was just like hoping something was going to happen. He wasn't involved, but...
It's actually a little bit dangerous. If the Lantern's already down, then, you know, while you're traveling, then it is pretty guaranteed where you're going to land. As now Becker looking for another hook. He's going to find it here onto the Thresh. Flay is going to come back, but he gets knocked up. Killer Instinct immediately. Actually going to be stunned out of it, unfortunately, so not able to get the follow-up damage in DRX. They do get a flash and an ignite and a heal out of the KT bottom lane in trade for just the ignite. So they're feeling okay about this, as now Bao's just going to walk into that end of the line. Heal has to come down as the Super Mega Death Rocket was ambitious, to say the least.
I mean, I guess if a few more hits had gone off, maybe he gets the execute there, but yeah, ambitious is what it looks like at the end of the day. Just wanted to guarantee the connection, I suppose. If they actually do get the root there, then this ends up being a very different situation, but obviously it's very unlikely to happen. Scary moment there for Bao.
Indeed.
But, you know, still at a very calm, slow-paced game here. And what I'm worried about for KT is will they be able to control this next Drake fight? Because then DRX puts us on that really fast timer to soul, where the rest of that game, that later game where, you know, their comp is so tanky and so healy, it becomes a lot more difficult to deal with. If KT can actually get this next Cloud Drake, then they put a huge buffer on that timer.
I mean, to be honest, like, if I'm DRX, I actually kind of want to see what this team looks like with triple mountain or triple ocean. Like, it's just so silly. The amount of extra tankiness or the amount of extra healing would be so funny. So I'd actually be completely okay with them giving up this Drake and foregoing the extra soul timing. But I think that might be greedy, and I think pushing towards soul as fast as you can will certainly work out, especially given the fact that, you know, KT do have this Jinx that's going to continue charging up over and over again.
Well, I mean, you raise a good point, though, because even if you can't end up grabbing this one for DRX, it feels like you're still okay, right?
Yeah, he's still pretty happy.
So, I mean, that's where I'm worried for KT. Like, they need to control basically the rest of these Drakes if they don't want that to happen. It's not like they can't win the game if DRX do end up getting that soul, but it just becomes so difficult. You're playing the game on hard mode at that point. The lead they have right now is substantial, you know, across every lane.
Yep. But it's not substantial enough, in my opinion. They managed to get the Herald. They got a few extra plates there, went over to UCal and to Gideon, so that's good news.
Yeah, I mean, they've got these... Oh, in this slot.
Okay. Voidseeker going to come through. There's the flash. Zeus going to sidestep it as the Lantern is still down. Hybrid not wanting to take that, though. Is going to go golden for the moment as now Gideon turns up. Hook is going to go wide as now they're trying to get out of there. Another Super Mega Death Rocket flies on through as now Becca, only an auto behind, but is going to be out of stopwatch to try and keep himself alive. Bao is going to block the Zappers. Now the Cyclone comes in. Bao trying to find the Killer Instinct positioning, but doesn't quite get there. And now Kingen finds himself on the wrong side of the rift. It is going to the Shockwave going wide, and Kingen's still trying to escape, but he's not going to be able to. Gideon grabs that kill. Now DRX are running for the hills, but it's only one kill. After it felt like DRX were slightly routed in that situation.
Yeah, Kingen's like, yeah, why am I the one to die? This isn't my fault at all. I came here to save you. Well, KT are going to get this Drake for it. So what ended up being an attempted proactive play there from Becca with his flash hook attempt ends up going bad. I mean, real bad. It backfires so much so that KT actually gets this extra buffer Drake that we were talking about. As Becca looks for the flash hook, and he goes wide. Nice dodge by Zeus, who's already got the Lantern set up here. And from this point on, this is just going to be a winning fight for KT. Gideon is here, and the teleport comes through, but it's so late. And you can see he was already walking to lane, you know, and like, here it comes. Becca uses stopwatch. He doesn't have flash because guess what? He used it to go for the hook. So yeah, he's stuck, and Kingen does everything he can to try to save him, but he ends up going down. He's the one who draws the short straw and loses his teleport, of course.
Yeah, then KT are in perfect position to take down this Drake, and it will be a Mountain Soul. And that's pretty good for DRX. But we'll see whether they can actually take some control back in this game to make sure that they can actually collect it. Because as you can see, with the fact that Heralds and the like have been going over to KT, they have moved themselves to about a 2.5k gold lead.
Yeah.
And that feels great for this comp, right?
Yeah. And they're basically winning all their lanes. And they won that skirmish fight, only resulted in a kill, and obviously a teleport that they were able to steal away there too. But we don't know how this comp is going to work, how well they're going to be able to exit. Oh, hold that thought.
Yep, that's a very dead monkey. Chain CC'd and obliterated.
It's getting better here for KT every moment that passes, but they've only one lane in skirmish, and a lot of this has been on Gideon. And I was going to say, I wonder how these team fights are going to go when they're on fairly even footing, but it feels like we might not be if this continues. Another hook.
Yeah. We've seen one of them hit so far, and that hook's going to land. Flame Chompers go down. Love the combo out of the KT bottom lane, and they easily, just in the face of 3 people, take down the support. Blitzcrank doesn't do a whole lot, to be perfectly honest, outside of trying to find these miracle hooks. And Becca, unfortunately, hasn't been able to find too many.
That's the problem with Blitzcrank and why he isn't used in professional play all too often is, you know, you have one really big tool that sets up a combo, and if it doesn't work, like, you're just kind of a sitting duck. You can't help peel against a more aggressive support, you know, that's going to come in, like a Rakan or an Alistar, you know, you have some peel options there and things, but against a Thresh, like, who's just going to defensively hook afterwards, you just don't have anything. You can't do anything there. You're not going to help anybody, you're not going to save anybody, and he has just missed the boat. Missed the hooks, I guess. I mean, just straight up. Unfortunately, we're going to watch this top gank again. Just doesn't know Gideon is here, and he's got Gale Force, so the damage is insane.
Was an investment of a flash there out of the Gragas, but still making sure that no decoys could come off and
Look
no
at the
chance
box.
of escape.
Look at the box placed here from Zeus 2 after Red. Look, he's so perfect with this, and it's like, you're under turret, Becca. Sorry, man.
Yeah, you ain't getting out of that one. Flame Chopper's down immediately there from Hybrid as well. Just shows the combos that you can achieve with the Jinx and the Thresh.
Yeah,
it needs more respect than this, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the Blitzcrank is fun. It's exciting. I like it. But if you end up trying to make plays and you actually end up feeding gold over to your opponent when you fail, then your comp isn't going to scale up the way it's supposed to later on because you're going to be too far behind.
Well, now we've got gold leads absolutely everywhere for KT. And you can still see that DRX are trying to bide their time with what they're getting done here. And now KT is starting to call the shots. Shirley's going to come down here and bow. Unfortunate position right now, but Hybrid is going to get attacked by the Kai'Sa, who knew that she was dead. Collateral damage goes completely wide, and that rocket crit was a lot of damage onto her. And KT will take down yet another turret. This is looking so... It's like night and day compared to game number 1.
Okay, teleport here for Doran. And they're already rotated up, so they can't even stop this.
Becca. This is a bit unfortunate. Does get the knockup. There's the shockwave. Becca's going to stay alive for now, but not for too much longer as he is taken down. Encore lands onto a couple as the Cyclone doing a fair bit of damage, but he's so squishy on this Wukong. And Pyoshik and Solka now having to run away. These are the most important pieces, but if everything else is just dying around them,
DRX,
it's not going to work.
I mean, DRX are just pushing the envelope a little bit too far in some of these exchanges, right? I mean, this one is fine. Okay, Bao knows he's dead, right? Like, he's not going to go quiet into that good night. He dies, but at least he puts up a fight, right? And he's able to pull some attention back so that they can deal with the Herald a little bit better. But, like, plays like this, I mean, you don't need to try to force this right now. You're already behind, and you feel like, okay, well, we're so far behind, we have to make something happen. But with this comp, you really don't. And this is like the 4th time that DRX have tried to make something happen and have then just given gold over to KT. And now they're so far behind, I don't think we even get to talk about that late game anymore, where the window was a big problem. I think we've kind of passed that, and KT just keeps punishing.
And also, KT's late game is fantastic anyway, as Pyoshik has to flash to get himself out, does avoid the play, but he's not going to avoid his death. Doran just a massive, unbreakable wall in the front line. And yeah, he goes down to half health, but he'll eat honey fruit, he'll take a drink. And KT are now looking at taking a Baron, because the jungler is now disposed of.
He can't be here. I mean, he's... even if he was here, I don't know if he'd be able to do anything at this stage. There's 7,000 gold ahead. And, I mean, they have Encore coming up in a second.
Becca's just dead another time. This Blitzcrank has been, I'd say, like, I don't want to say useless, but I think that's basically it.
Game 3 inducing Blitzcrank.
And Yukal gets in there with the Shockwave. Solka eliminated. Not a chance for him. 3-0-2 now for the Jeep, who is just huge.
I mean, look at these numbers across the board for KT. Dominance.
Yeah.
And now they have the Morel Namicon. Slight buff on this patch. Super strong against the comp that they're playing against. With the Seraphine, who's unfortunately been kind of an ult bot in this game, and that's all she's been able to do, because we're not getting straight up front-to-back team fights because people are getting picked on DRX, which shouldn't be happening, but because they're feeling so desperate to make plays, it just continues to be what we see here. And like, if you're DRX, at this stage, I don't blame you for trying to be proactive and maybe try to catch some players from KT out, but the problem was they tried to do this so much earlier on and fed over so much gold to KT that KT are just able to take small advantages like this and turn them into Baron plays. Becca's like, maybe I'll catch somebody here. No, I'm just going to toss a ward of the wall and kill you. Sorry, man.
And he pulls in Gideon. It's like, yay. He uses that to gap close. And then the rest of DRX really out of position.
Yukal comes at the perfect flank angle as well. Grab another kill. I think this game is well and truly over. Unfortunately, Atlas, we're not going to get to see that exciting potential as to where DRX goes with if they got 3 Mountain Drakes.
Yeah.
Because KT, like you said, they have a comp that does well in the late game, but DRX didn't go to the late game on even footing. They are doing it with one hand tied behind their back.
8,000 gold the lead. And the first Mountain Drake goes over to KT. And they're going to be very happy about that. And it feels like the use-by date is really, really timed out for DRX. The Mundo, he's free food. Like, you wouldn't be scared. Like, if Hybrid has the Mundo running at him, he just shoots him.
Yeah.
And then he dies. And that's bad news. As DRX going for the Hail Mary Baron by the looks of things.
Look at how, I mean, their damage is not great, though. I mean, they only have a Kai'Sa to rush this down, whereas KT have plenty of time to come over. They have vision of this.
Yeah, they got a control ward in the pit as well as KT gonna have to try and start this one up. Yukal over to the side, does have his shockwave back available yet again. In goes Doran, finds a little mini stun against the wall. Solka trying to keep himself alive as the shockwave lands onto the front line, and they just get completely obliterated. Bao flashes to get himself out, but Hybrid is immediately after him, finds the rockets, and finds the triple kill. And now KT, they'll grab themselves a Baron, and they'll say goodnight to this game.
That was such a really well-coordinated fight for KT. I mean, things could have gone badly there if the shockwave wasn't good, but it was so patient. I mean, we're going to watch it again here. I believe, and watch where Doran is like, okay, I'm actually the ball carrier. He just goes in, flashes as well. And then the follow-up shockwave you're about to hear, and see here in a second, is insane. It's not even
three people, yeah.
And it just ends up grabbing them there, so the damage output is real. And you can see, this is one of the only glimpses of a fight we're going to see in this game. It might be the last one we see. You can see glimpses of, oh, this comp is going to be hard to kill. Like, if that shockwave isn't as good, maybe DRX kind of trade back, it's not as bad, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, just too far behind.
Trial version.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like things are pretty donezo for DRX. You can see what they were trying to do with the comp, but I don't know. The Wukong felt real weird. And hasn't really showed us exactly what it's supposed to do. Going 0-5 is not the ideal scenario. Becker has been,
trial version.
Basically not here on the Blitzcrank. Now it's an Infinity Edge that Hybrid, I believe, just put together when he went home. That's a lot of damage.
He's got the rapid fire cannon, so he doesn't really have to worry about getting into range of all the threats that DRX have. I mean, as long as you don't get rooted like this or caught by a Blitzcrank hook, KT are like, okay, we just throw them together as 4, and Doran is split pushing. Already got the bottom turrets down, and now he's at the top side of the map, totally uncontested.
Well, here's the flash in as Kingan's going for it, but look at this, KT. They just wander themselves out. Becker now trying to escape as Gideon is going to die. Bao getting on top of him there. Becker going to miss another hook off towards the backside, and now ㅅ2021 trying to tank as best he can. Mini stun into the wall will get shot down by the Super Mega Death Rocket as the zap is going to connect onto Kingan. Unfortunately, Hybrid finding that one, and now Yukal making his way over. A double kill now for the Jinx as Bao is in trouble. Flame Chomper's not going to find him. That crit not going to be enough. Solka's just going to get absolutely obliterated, and Hybrid is hunting for the Kai'Sa. Voidseeker comes out of the brush, and Bao is mega dead. That's going to be the unofficial quadra kill, I believe, for Hybrid. And this should be the end of the game for KT.
It definitely will be. Unfortunate game here for DRX. They just got too far behind early. A lot of this in failed Blitzcrank attempts in the bottom lane. I mean, the Jinx is 9-0-5. And before the quadra kill, obviously 4...
No, it was a triple kill. I take it all back. Zeus stole one away here.
And DRX just eats so much damage at the beginning of this fight. They take Gideon out. But it's a 4v4 now that they just simply cannot take, because as you said, ㅅ2021 just doesn't have the items. And this game is too far behind, gets stunned to the wall, and there's just no way out. Yeah, he's like, oh, I would like to be tanking and running into them so you guys could do the damage, but DRX, there's just, I mean, there's no way they're going to win this fight. They're just trying to minimize losses, and unfortunately, we know what happens at the end of this one.
Yeah, and Solka just, finds himself in a really rough position. That shockwave did the last 20 damage to kill Solka, but he still landed it. You'll take those. The hook's going to be flashed there by Zeus. Becca almost managed to get his pick.
Yeah, you still have to respect the Blitzcrank, because if you get somebody, if somebody dies for free for KT, then suddenly, DRX can start to maybe look for a fight.
Well, the thing is, I feel like DRX know that this game is pretty much done. I think Shockwave is going to be flashed there by ㅅ2021. But now he has absolutely no way of getting out of anything. There's the body slam flash out of Doran, just trying to start off some sort of fight as the Encore is going to connect, but not really onto too many as DRX trying to keep themselves into position. Becker actually doing a really good job there as they do take down Gideon and Doran. Hybrid is still the main target here, and Yukal is there for some potential peel as that's a double kill. Now for Solka. Maybe I spoke too soon, Wolf, as Becker gets the flash hook onto Hybrid. I mean, he dies for it, and now they're trying to chase down this Jinx who's hiding so beautifully. It's not quite enough, though, as Bao eventually is able to grab this, as Solka almost just gets one-tapped by the Orianna.
They didn't know he was there. He actually teleported in. They had a control ward. I don't think he can steal this, but he really wants to. Yeah, ㅅ2021's got smite, so... Okay. Going to be, he didn't actually have smite. They barely get it.
More dangerous.
I mean, look, this is a game where this is... I said this last week, I'll say it again. Feels like every DRX game is the most DRX game ever. Where they win team fights, they just have no place to win. And KT just overextend here. I mean, we've been talking about, the damage from the Jinx, but Bao just does an insane amount of damage in this team fight. He's completely untouched, and KT's frontline and backline are disconnected here. And then DRX is like, okay, we're going to have to back away because we're all super low on health. And then KT do end up trading back here with Hybrid, just having insane damage. He's like, oh, you hook at me? I'm going to take you out. Yeah. And then gets a second as well. DRX King and is like, oh my god, this guy does damage.
And also, the monkey does absolutely nothing this game.
Yeah.
And then Sulker almost just gets bopped by Yukel.
It's not enough to say that the DRX is ahead now or that they've turned this game around, but if they do it one more time, then you're starting to be like, uh-oh. And like, DRX make proactive plays in late game. It's not like this is just random or it's like teams just stop trying against DRX when DRX is behind. It's usually Pioshik who's the playmaker. In this case, it's Becca. But, I mean, you do have to respect the Blitzkrieg, and if someone gets hooked, boom, it's a 5v4. If there's a really nice encore, then suddenly they get a wipe and they win the game. So right now, KT, it's like, okay, we have control of the game, but we have to play carefully, we have to play cautiously, because this isn't over yet. And DRX is the type of team to just control vision or set up crazy bush, party bushes and look for fights. You have to respect that. You have to respect this team looking for a way back into the game in the late game, because they've done it so many times. They've stolen so many wins away.
And they just shouldn't be able to do it here in this game. Like, it's an 11,000 gold lead. They have so many of the answers required in order to take down DRX right now. And look, I mean, we're a long way from a Soul or anything like that. Baron is now available. They haven't broken the base. So theoretically, yes, KT do need to win a fight, but they've got a beautiful comp for winning fights. Especially when there's a 0-7 Wukong that's supposed to be part of the initiation team.
11-1-5.
Yeah, right.
Hybrid. The Jinx pick seems very good in this particular isolated incident.
Indeed.
The fact that Yukel is starting to get full build as well, like he's going to his ward staff, is terrifying.
That's a flash shockwave. Hook is going to go wide as well. DRX now thinking about going for something. As we're dropping the beat, Hybrid is going to get tagged by that one. Almost did a damage, but did not, unfortunately.
KT can almost rush this Baron down before DRX do anything. Look at the vision control they have right now.
Yeah, I mean, they should be able to. They got a 4 out of Jinx.
Yeah, like this Baron just disappears. DRX have to come in.
Indeed. Well, they are going to get control of the mid lane.
Trial version.
KT, they're just setting up. They want to fight. They do not want to try and peel off Baron or anything like that. Not going for any sort of flip, as now Becca looks for the hook, but Hybrid is, of course, going to be okay getting out of that one.
Remember, the Soka ult potential here is insane. Like, they have to be careful. KT grouping up like 5 like this. I mean, there's a lot of ways this can go very wrong.
Well, this turret is going to be taken.
Yeah.
DRX have no vision of the area. We've got to teleport back from Solka. He's got his Ardent Sensor completed.
This is a really scary fight for KT. I mean, they can rush this down, but they are really playing with fire. I think they're going to get it.
Yep, Explosive Cask is going to come through. That is going to be the hook that's going to connect onto the Jinx of all people. The Blitzkrieg has been taken down, but finally, the Wukong is getting value. Bao gets into the backline. Yukel getting focused. He'll be taken down. Gideon also going to die as the Empowered back is going to save one of the Barons. But I don't know how they do it, Wolf.
This is KT's fault. This is KT's fault, too. You know, you have a really fast clear time on this Baron, but why you take a risk like this against a team comp that will punish you? I mean, this is insane. Hybrid dies instantly, and it's over. You don't have the damage anymore. The big ultimate comes through from Solka. The charm is there. This is a team comp that DRX has that will just obliterate you if you're grouped up like this and you make a small mistake. And it's just not worth it. They had vision control and they had a very fast clear time, but they got what they asked for. I mean, this is a very solid punish here from DRX as they come through. And look at where the hook goes onto Hybrid, and it was the second one of this exchange. Like the first time he missed, the second time he's good with it, and then boom, look at all the CC that comes through. Yeah, it's a trade, but you'll take that trade when you've got this composition for DRX, and now KT are just running for the hills. And now this is, I said it was going to take 2. Now DRX have a really good chance of winning this game.
And now Bao is massive. He also has an Ardent Sensor and a Staff of Flowing Water on Solka. Like, this Kai'Sa has so much more potential in this game just based on the itemization, right? And now DRX, they're looking for another Mountain Drake. I don't know how they do this.
Yeah, KT didn't, weren't able to control that many of the Drakes, obviously, so this isn't going to be them taking away the soul, because, DRX still has a lot of cleanup to do on this game. I mean, almost all the turrets are up. They have 1 turret, so they're still extremely behind. Don't get me wrong, but KT can't just say, well, okay, let's reset. At least we got the soul. Not yet, actually. Like,
and now Bao is only behind 700 gold. This is crazy. This was like, Hybrid's so fed. He's still, like, those 11 kills are still there.
This is what DRX does. They make insane plays in the late game. I mean, that is their identity. This is why, people just don't trust them as a top 3 team, right? Because it just looks like, I don't know how good this team is. They make a lot of mistakes. But in these late games, they steal away games. I mean, they literally just grab them.
Well, they did just give away an inhibitor turret on the bottom side of the map. As King, yeah, you're going to have to leave. Gets out of there. Doran has the orb now. And it's just brute force on this inhibitor turret.
I love this play because KT's just like, all right, well, if we can actually take control of this inhibitor and get the macro back into our favor, get the waves back into our favor, then you can't pull it fast on us. You're not able to, come up on us and set up for a team fight on an objective as easily. So, obviously we're still quite a ways away from the next Baron fight. Baron buff is just now wearing off. Negative 2100 cold, but yeah, that's not really telling the story here. That's kind of a funky stat that pops up sometimes. But
indeed. I mean, that's what happens when you lose a fight around the Baron.
Yes.
In fact, they lost 4 members. Doran, the only member who managed to hold on to that buff. So did utilize it relatively effectively. Has now built up about as many tank items as he can possibly find. He's going to be a tough one to take down, as Mortal Reminder has been completed here for Gideon. New and improved.
It's crazy that this game might actually be decided about a Mountain Drake fight that isn't even necessarily the soul for DRX, but like KT I don't think can give this one up. And
also if they get Mountain Soul, like that's pretty nutty.
Exactly. And this would be such an insane comeback for DRX if they are able to lock this one up. And it's also like 35 minutes into the game that we're talking about this Drake fight. That might not be the soul, so this game is definitely off the rails a little bit for KT, and if they just stay grouped up and play for the lanes and look for vision control around these objectives, look for the fight, not to try to start the objective before DRX, like if they start the objective with DRX nearby, I'm like, what didn't we learn from the Baron last time? Just cross your T's, dot your I's, KT. I mean, this is still your game to win. This is still, a game 3 that we can play if there is no more mistakes.
Well, Soka, he's getting very, very close to his Seraph Embrace, which will be a big spike. Does have that tier already picked up.
These are the gold differences for KT across the game. Their leads shrink at 35, but, I mean, pretty, that stat is, still 8k gold up at 35 minutes. That's pretty good.
Yep, it's the trend that's the problem.
Yeah.
They do have a lot of deep vision, though, and you can see the Baron is going to be up in a minute's time. Bao goes back. His GA also completed. Hybrid already had his up. That is certainly going to be helping him keep himself alive. Has always been his defensive item of choice. Hybrid, not really much of a cleanser or a QSSer. That's just not his thing. We've criticized him for it in the past, and now at least he's just not going to be insta-popped, but won't be able to do damage if he's down on that GA, and also if you get hooked, then your position is part of the problem.
I'm kind of baffled that KT haven't bought more. I mean, they have 2 control wards on Thresh, there's 2 now on Doran, but like, there's no attempts to get really strong vision control over this next Drake. I mean, it's up in 65 seconds, right? So there's a significant amount of time. They're more worried about the Baron.
Yeah.
But while they have these waves controlled, I mean, you could drop down 1 ward at least and try to get a little bit of a positional advantage there. It looks like KT is just trying to sell the idea that they're going to start Baron and want to force DRX that way. Because that's obviously what happened last time, and if they have a little bit more room, they could do it. Because again, the clear speed is insanely fast for them. Last time it wasn't fast enough, but this time with the extra space they have, they're going to say, okay, this time it's enough, and I don't fault them for it. Look at the vision control they have. DRX is nowhere near. This is way safer than last time.
Absolutely, but DRX are trying to get into position. They're not going to make it in time. We'll see whether DRX can find a team fight, and the answer to that is also no, as we're dropping the beat, but it's sort of after everyone's left.
It's kind of hilarious. This game has turned into KT just trying to win with Baron buff and win with minions rather than team fights at this stage, but that's where they're at.
They are still very far ahead. But KT giving them a lot more respect.
They're playing so scared, but I mean, I can't blame them after the last few skirmishes have really gone DRX's way.
Well, Bao is just going to freely take this Drake. This is really odd from KT that just give that one up.
Yeah,
this is going to be maximum amount of Drakes. Maybe not wanting to have an Elder versus Baron trade-off situation or something like that, but I still think it's pretty odd. They will take the inhibitor in the mid lane, though. DRX are just going to have to park themselves here and do their very best to defend. Teleport back here for Doran. Gets him into the mid lane. No Magic Mantle instead of a Control Ward is an odd choice, but maybe just thinking that his wards aren't going to be killed.
Yeah, I mean, it's... I suppose. I mean, that's the hope for KT here. This is really risky what they're doing, splitting Doran off. I think he definitely needs to regroup. Look at where he's at. Like, he needs to go the long way around if he wants to rejoin.
The crazy thing is, if KT, like, get ace, they still lose the game.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like,
it's nutty.
So, I'd be careful. Like, why is Doran here himself flirting with death? I mean, Blitzcrank wasn't there.
He is extremely tanky. It's going to take them about a year and a half to kill him.
They also do have that ward over the wall. So you can see where everyone's standing, so it's not like he's just doing this blind where Blitzcrank can hook him at any time. He does have a lot of info with this.
Yep.
Lantern out early.
Well, he's going to get the flash in, but as you can see, maybe just a bit of an overstep. Oh! Gideon going to get caught by the Encore as well, and immediately Bao grabs 2, now 3 left alive. We said this, KT. We said that you can still be aced and lose the game.
Well,
that's Becca taken down, but who cares? If the Blitzcrank dies, you've just lost the game,
You lost
KT.
the game, KT Roaster. You lost the game. You were up 8,000 gold and more, 10,000, I think, in a moment there. Around 25 minutes, and you split Doran off, Lantern in early for a hard engage in a situation where you have full control over this map.
There is a long way to walk. They may not have lost the game just yet. It might take another fight, but oh my god.
I mean, I don't even believe that KT can take any more fights in this game. I mean, they are playing so scared they're making all the wrong decisions. Not everyone's on the same page. The Lantern gets taken, he goes in. KT is not ready for the follow-up. And there's so many tools for DRX in these choke points to control fights. So this is another one of those moments. Like, we've had 3 big missteps from KT Rolster in this game that almost any other team would have closed out and won. And it starts to feel embarrassing at this point.
This is just ridiculous.
I mean, like, you said it like...
That's not. We got a little bit overexcited. Because there's a lot of map to march.
I mean, there was only 1 turret taken for DRX before this moment, right? So, or maybe it was 2. It was 1 earlier. I don't know when the second one was taken, but point being, there's a lot to go through before the Nexus goes down. But I mean, now we're getting to a point where we are going to have that Mountain Soul potentially, right, for DRX. And this is a comp that where now all the items are online. And suddenly it's like, okay, even Wukong is kind of relevant in this game again.
Which is absolutely absurd.
I mean, if every time KT takes a fight, half of their team is charmed and Wukong's in the middle of that, then he's relevant. It's not supposed to work out like that, but if it keeps working out like that every time, then Wukong actually can do a lot of damage. He's very difficult to kill when everyone's charmed. Because they're like, oh no, someone's isolated, we've got to turn into this. Uh-oh, Seraphino.
Well, now you can see DRX are feeling so much better. This inner turret should go down, but there is a lot of wave clear. Thankfully, there is a passive out of Seraphine that is able to take that one down. Doran in a little bit of trouble here, just trying to be that front line. 1.5 minutes on this Mountain Soul, if DRX can get it.
KT,
oh my goodness,
are not going to have prio over this Drake. I don't think. Like, they don't have any vision around it right now. The wave was pushed mid. Kingan's actually down here by himself. And everybody on KT is grouped up for a reset right now. It almost looks like they're having, like, a team huddle. Like, around the Raptors, like, all right, guys, are we about to lose this game? Like, someone's going to have to make the call here about how they're going to engage on this Drake where DRX will have positional advantage and vision advantage. And, like, KT might be discussing, do we let this Drake go? And that's a conversation I've never thought that anyone would even remotely consider on KT's side with the game we had before this. No vision, no positional advantages here. Doran, watch out, man.
Bao has so many buffs, dude. Bao has, like, he's got a Zeke's now, as well as the Ardent Sense of the Staff of Flowing Water as well, which does help out.
Yeah.
Getting you a bit of extra damage.
Okay, KT actually just got away with this. They were able to push to the right side of the jungle. They're actually going to have positional advantage. Doran's by himself, but I think you want to take the fight here for DRX over the Drake. You don't want to look for a pick and push mid.
This is very sneaky.
Version.
Oh, Voidseeker does spot that there's someone down here. Doran is off to the side, though. He's going to have to teleport in to try and get here as the Thunderdome has been set up. Pyoshik throwing out gonks where he can find them. This is going to be a 50-50 on a Mountain Soul. By the looks of things, Pyoshik wants to get him. He's not going to be able to. And now DRX are looking for the fight against the Mountain Soul. Is it going to be enough as the hook is going to come back? It lands onto Zeus immediately. He's taken down. Now it's a 5 versus 4 as Kingen gets immediately out with that decoy.
And now DRX like, well, I don't have to fight you anymore.
They're looking to just take down a Baron. But do they just lose the game if they try and take the Baron? There is no inhibitor turrets left alive. DRX is going to have to do this extraordinarily quickly, and there are 2 Nexus turrets in between them and the loss of a game.
The comp is just, it doesn't take this Baron out very quickly. I think they do have to back.
I mean, Bao does do about a bajillion damage to it, so it should still go down quickly. But KT, they take the inhib. They don't push to the end.
They don't have vision, so they can't make the call to push. They don't know if DRX is about to show up at the base or not, and it's just if they're actually rotating down from mid, like even mid is pushed, so they could actually be coming from mid to surround and kill them, so they have to walk away from this. At least they get an inhibitor, but for a Baron, so obviously better trade here for DRX at this stage. As this is going to be, Gideon securing this with Smite, and then the hook comes through. It's actually onto Zeus, because he's obviously super far out. Look at how far out he is looking for that hook. He gets punished for it. Becca wants more. He wants somebody else, but he gets the thresh in the end, and that's enough to turn this on its head and go straight for the Baron.
Yeah, and the cask as well just wasn't quite good enough to get anyone out of position to trade 1-for-1 in that situation. So I think if you're DRX, you're very happy. You'll take bottom inhib for a Baron, especially a denial of another Baron. As now, DRX looking to try and push out. They have pushed that bottom wave.
It's funny, too,
a few minutes.
How the Blitzcrank in the mid-game actually loses a lot of power, and you feel like, okay, well, this
but then the late game, it's
that
that one hook, baby.
Exactly. The late game, you get to the hook, and it's like, okay, well, now you're on a 60-second death timer. Whoever's caught. And then the DRX have such a tanky comp, they can sometimes even just literally walk away. It doesn't matter who they kill, they just walk away, like they did in this last fight. So, Blitzcrank's real Omega power spike in the late game, just from his hooks alone, not because of his items or anything like that. Although he is making Bao a lot more deadly.
Well, almost read the quick draw. But now they're going to have to back away. And KT will keep their inhibitor turret alive. 2 inner turrets still available, top and bottom. And it might be that we are going to utilize this Baron to try and get at least this bot wave pushed out. Does make some sense.
Yeah, this is a this is just a crazy game. At this stage, KT still has a slight gold lead. We're going to have the control over the map. And they got the soul. So, these are things that make you want to say, technically speaking, KT is still ahead. But I think this game is not really about who's ahead and who's behind anymore. It's really just about how these fights are going to go, what you gain from a pick.
Yeah, the gold's irrelevant, because everyone has basically all their items. I think Hybrid sold 3 different full items to replace them. He now has a Bloodthirster in his back pocket because his GA was on cooldown. We're getting into this sort of territory.
Exactly. So, if you get a full wipe this time, as DRX, even with the state of how long it took them to clear things out when they did last time, you do win the game for sure. And if KT end up losing this game, I think everything we said in that last fight, it was true. It's still true. It just took a long time, right?
Yeah. Despite the outcome of this game, in my mind, KT already lost. Because getting an 11,000 gold lead with this very standard scaling teamfight comp. Yes, you're against Seraphine. She molds the game a little bit and changes it, but you'd managed to make this DRX comp irrelevant, and then you just took some of the worst fights. I mean, it's just even.
It all started off with that Baron. The first Baron they tried to take, and it was just from then on, they have played scared. This is definitely one that Acorn is going to be forcing them to review. Oh yeah. This is every player for KT Rolster knows right now that this is going to be the one where you're like, oh, I know we're going to be watching this game a lot, and it's really long. Whether you win or lose it, I mean, no KT fan is happy with this. And it feels more like we're losing it.
Another hook is going to land on Zeus. This time he's going to flash to get himself out, but it's a 3-man encore. Beat drop is pretty good as well, but DRX just kiting this one back. They have the W out of Seraphine, just gives you a lot of ability to maneuver in these fights. As another hook is going to connect, this time on Doran, who takes himself a lantern to get himself out. Pyoshik, it cost him a bit of health bar. For Mundo, he just does not care. His Elixir of Revion has been popped now as well.
And we're just trading ultimates at this point. But they are going to continue to push this, and
the war of attrition, man. DRX wins these.
KT doesn't have a strong split pusher, right? I mean, they can't send Yukal. That's just too risky. It's too greedy. You'd have to teleport if he did to try to threaten another inhibitor. Inhibitor's going to respawn in 35 seconds here for DRX, so it's kind of like an ARAM-esque game, but DRX get to decide what lane it's in because of their comp. And so KT have to be very careful. I mean, here's the teleport I was talking about. They're trying to maybe catch DRX and cut them off, but it's not going to happen. And that's actually a happy moment for DRX. Like, oh, you teleported. Nice. Take those. Yep. Now, this Elder Drake is going to be quite significant. It's coming up in 30. DRX completely ignoring it seems.
I think whoever wins this fight may win the game.
We've said that a few times, though, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not ready to, you know, to live and die by that one.
I wonder if anyone will win these fights, because it feels like we're just seeing trade.
Will we ever be out of this game? Yeah. Is the real question. I'm not entirely sure. Man, it's going to be hard for either of these teams to play a game number 3.
Oh, I mean...
Longest game, by the way, so far this season was 52 minutes and 40 seconds.
We're getting there.
We are certainly getting there as we are fighting over this Elder. GT not quite in position just yet, as ㅅ2021 does have his ulti still available, so this lower health bar is no issue as we're looking to flip it on the Elder, of course. That's exactly how this game should be decided, in my opinion, as another hook's going to come through, but it's answered immediately, and the shockwave goes completely wide. The Cyclone's in here. The Elder Drake is trying to party alongside everything as Doran looks to get out. Does take a Lantern Ride to keep himself safe, but Kingan's going to be taken, but the Elder is secured here by ㅅ2021, but it looks like he's going to be taken down. Finally, Hybrid is free hitting.
Ooh, that's
Bao, he didn't really want to go in that
that's not where he went.
Killer Instinct wants to take down Yukao Bao. What was that? Oh my god.
He's got the Elder buff. I mean, he thought he's going to maybe get a pentakill.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, dude.
That was really risky. I mean, you want to take that fight onto the Nexus turrets, I think. You want to take that one onto the Nexus turrets, I think. 61 seconds left on his death timer. This game is going to be over before he gets back.
Oh my goodness.
What a way to end this game. I don't think anyone walks out of this game happy.
Nope. Definitely not. As we are going to be going to a game number 3. Sulker is well and truly dead as KT take the least convincing game of all time, in my personal opinion. Nexus finally goes down, and yes, yeah, you can see Hybrid there on your screen. He's like, God, guys, this took a little bit longer than it should have.
Yeah, I mean, you could see in the team house that Gideon has a cheeky smile on his face, but everyone else on KT knows they're about to go. They're about to go in that back room with Hirai, and we're not allowed to talk about what's going to happen back there. DRX as well had a game that they made a lot of really great proactive plays in to try to turn this on its head, and it almost happened, but at the end of the day, they weren't able to do it. And I'm like, who do I give this player the game to?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Can we take a pause? Maybe we take a pause.
I wish I could, but...
Do we give it to Hybrid?
I think it's either Hybrid or Zeus, man.
Yeah, maybe Zeus.
I'll give it to Hybrid. It's safe.
Is it, though?
Trial versions.
I mean, he got caught that one time, but otherwise he did pretty consistent safe damage. He actually got them the lead that they had in the first place, which became, like, completely irrelevant later on. And I mean, when I say completely irrelevant, I mean completely irrelevant, because KT made so many bad macro decisions, bad decisions on where to fight, where to take a Drake. Doran's like, I'm going to go in by myself into their base alone when they have so many ways to lock me down and kill me. There was some really, like, KT Rolster played that game scared. This is uncharacteristically bad play from KT Rolster, I have to say too. Like,
but I mean, they did get the lead for themselves at the beginning, right? And you're thinking, oh man, they're back, they've rallied, everything's great. And then all faith gets immediately lost after they almost managed to throw a game at an 11,000 gold lead.
11,000
with a Jinx Orianna Gragas.
Yeah.
Graves? Like...
Graves! Oh, man. And it was a beautifully played game, too, at the beginning, because it was like, okay, but these guys are so ahead, and they're not giving any room. They're not giving any room to DRX. But then they made that bad Baron call, and then everything started to collapse. They still win the game.
Yeah.
If you're tuning in right now, you might be thinking we're talking about how KT lost. They still technically won. And we are going to a game 3, but...
Trial version.
Well, we'll have to see what happens. Let's have a look at the post-game breakdown to see who did the damage. I think we're going to see some pretty decent numbers here. Actually, I mean, 50k, not bad. Out of the Jinx. So I think there are a few team fights where Hybrid probably could have gone in amongst it and auto-attacked a bit more, but with the Blitzcrank there, it does really change things, and he did get hooked in a few of those mid-game fights that really did lose the game. Lose the control of the game for KT.
This another game that just showcases how good DRX is in the late game from behind and how proactive they are at setting up plays. KT set up a lot of plays for him, be honest, but just threw him a little bit of an underhanded pitch. But still, DRX, late game, watch out. Behind or not, his team can bring it back.
They're basically the Mighty Ducks, like somehow they just make it work, it's like, but no, we're really far down against that Icelandic team. Flying B, baby. Well, I mean, we'll see whether it works here as we go to a game number 3, and we'll see that right after this break. We need to go.
Trial version.
Oh my God.
Trial version. 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 Trial version.
앞으로 한번 돌 텐가.
이쪽 그래 한번 볼게.
블리차 베스트. 아, 블리차.
블리차.
Trial
장로
version.
봐줘. 예.
아, 장로 막아야 돼.
장로 막아야 돼. 장로 바로.
높을.
장로.
아, 3번.
Trial version.
앞라인부터 가자.
안내부터.
문도.
천천히 해봐.
빠지지 마. 아,
이거
밀어가자.
이거 밀어가자. 이거 그 전에 조심하고.
야, 조심했다, 이거.
아유 맞아. 가자.
오래 하나 밀어가 그냥. 라인 관리. 맞아, 끝내자.
이거 가자.
아, 텔레거든.
Trial version.
탑으로 와.
우리 밑으로 갈게.
탑으로 가자, 탑으로.
오케이.
우리 오케이, 갈게. 나 좀 많이 늦긴 하거든. 아, 미드라인 가져와봐, 그냥. 끝내자. 무조건 끝나. 아직 몰라.
Trial version.
장로 오긴 하다. 아, 이거.
어때?
끝나게 밀거부터 치자. 천천히. 세라핀 딜 약해서 장로
Trial
그냥
version.
무시간에 라인부터 라인 혼자. 불 치실
라인
거야?
해봐.
허리쳐.
물체 팔고.
좋다.
아
이거 아까 그랬던 거 소리.
Trial version.
봐봐. 야 다음 판 스프레 팔아 진짜로.
에하브? 진짜 미안해.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
季中冠军赛
MSI is back.
Trial version. 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 Trial version.
That was game number 2 between KT Roser and DRX, and KT was able to take game number 2 after a 50-minute long game. KT this time around, they answered back to Therapy with Thrash and Jinx.
Trial version.
Jinx is a card that we all kind of expected with the launch of 11.4 patch. And Thrash is a champion that can find the synergy or chain system see together with Jinx. But with the Seraphim pick coming in for B1, KT Roaster was really confident facing her as a support player. So with this Jinx Thresh kind of duo coming in, DRX had to rotate Seraphim to mid lane. So that was really impressive kind of strategy coming out from KT Roaster with their draft. And the last pick for DRX was Blitzcrank.
Trial version.
Blitzcrank has a very long cast animation, so he can actually, hook a champion that takes a lantern, but still, Blitzcrank is the champion that does not have a lane priority. So Blitz is kind of a champion that can play around the priority, the top side of the map, so he can come to group up with other laners and secure visions. But I think DRX was kind of overconfident in game number 2 based on the draft they completed. They did perform well in game 1. KT was really shaky in game 1, but still,
Trial version.
Mundo is a champion that takes less AP damage. So this champion is really strong into, main champions, not Jinx, but after seeing the Jinx getting locked in by KT Roaster, DRX still went for DRX, whereas Wukong, on the other hand, this champion is really good into AD damage champion. So even though KT had a very solid kind of beam for their comp, DRX didn't really take a deeper look at it. They just went for their original plan, not even considering the beam of KT Roaster. But still, DRX was able to kind of extend the game, almost won the game, but still KT Roaster was able to secure the win after a very long one. Now let's take a look at DRX team fight ability. From the get-go, I just don't get why Gragas was positioning over there. If we grouped up with the rest of his teammates, well, KT Roaster would have gotten that turret a lot faster, but still he goes in for some miracle engage, but he didn't find any value. He was fighting the dust, and then Graves also followed him. I just want to mention about the positioning or the matchup between KT Roaster and DRX in this specific comp. The Jinx needs a frontline players in order to kind of save her from the hook. But at that fight, KT Roaster, because they were in a lead, they had some wrong allocation of their members, so they were losing that fight. They need a very solid kind of front line in order to secure Jinx in the backline, but they wanted to avoid maybe lining up to get hit by Encore altogether. But still, if Gragas goes in and then Thresh saves him with a lantern, that means there is no survivability for Jinx. So KT Roaster was getting over-eager at that point in the game, whereas DRX counter-engaged really well. However, KT Roaster was able to close out the game with this Elder fight. Well, to be honest, Thresh should not be landing his hook unless he's super confident to get a value. Because Blitz was in his range, he actually was able to close out that kill. So after that kill, KT Roaster was able to pick up kill by a kill, and Blitzcrank did not have his flash at that point as well. Even though DRX was able to take that Elder, KT Roaster was in a really good spot to take that fight, but Bao was looking for some kind of miracle game-ending team fight. But maybe due to the nerf of Kaisa in limit point 4, or maybe some skill engage coming out from KT Roaster, he was not able to be the savior for DRX. But I'm pretty sure KT Roaster won't be super happy about this victory because they were shaking and falling apart moving into the mid and late game.
Trial version.
We had the second longest game of the Spring Split between KT Roaster and DRX, and the POG will go over to Zeus on Dredge. The safe pick was not the true, it was actually the support role that was securing the POG in this game.
Trial
KT
version.
Roster was able to get ahead of DRX based on those play coming out from Zeus, the way he kind of dodged the skills, the way he was taking the positions,
Trial
and his
version.
CCs were really on point. When a game gets this long, actually it's really easy for the carries to pick
Trial
up the
version.
POG, but it's really impressive to see Zeus securing this MVP this time around. And KT Roster was having a
Trial
hard
version.
time in order to close out the game, and that's why we saw Zeus securing this POG, because he was the one getting a lot of things done in the early
Trial
games.
version.
The 7 out of 9 is the POG vote going over for Zeus. And
Trial
we are
version.
now heading over to game number 3 between KT Roster and DRX. We saw Hybrid yelling out, sorry for getting hooked so often at the end of the game. So let's take a look
Trial
at
version.
game number 3, whether Hybrid can push his momentum forward or whether DRX can pick up another win in the split.
Thank you so much, G-Sun, for the
Trial version.
analyst desk translation, and I agree. Let's see whether both of these teams can bounce back after a Game 2 loss.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly feels like both teams lost, but I think
Trial version.
you're having an even harder time if you're KT Roster to come back from this one. Even the fact that Hirai is sitting and he looks exhausted
Yeah,
in the
he
background
does.
is like,
Trial version.
he is not happy, right? And I've been, following this guy coaching since he coached Incredible Miracle in StarCraft 2, like way, way, way back in the day.
Trial
And
version.
he's the type of coach that, he does get frustrated when his team doesn't do as he's asked, and or if his team has had mistakes like we saw there. Hybrid got
version.
caught a few times. Those were a lot of the times were his issues. Sometimes it was just really nice play from Becca. But at the same time, KT did have a great early game. Like, we have to,
Trial version.
if we actually can remember the first 20 minutes of the game, that combo on the bottom side of the map looked great together. The Jinx Thresh combo was so well executed. We saw
Trial
amazing
version.
ultimates coming through. Death sentences were good. Everything was on point. The rotations were awesome with the...
And they obliterated top lane. Remember,
Yeah.
the Wukong didn't exist in that game at all.
Yeah.
DRX
Trial
actually,
version.
came back, or almost came back, in a 4v5, because actually Wukong did nothing. He was put way too far behind.
Trial
But
version.
it seems like Red Side has been powerful in this particular series. Let's see whether that is going to continue, as once again, Syndra to be banned
Trial
away.
version.
First off again, like in game number 1.
Let's see what KT Rollster have in store for us, because it feels like there's been a clear theme in both games for DRX,
Trial
right? They
version.
built the first pick Seraphine into a Mundo comp where you're hoping that in the later parts of the game you're going to have all that healing, and it started to work out the longer the game went on.
Trial
In game
version.
number 1, we obviously had the really strong synergy between the Jace and the Udyr, so in game 3, we'll see what their game plan is going to be, but KT
Trial
Rollster has
version.
felt like a lot more flex, a lot more freestyle.
Yeah.
But I like their game 2 comp a lot more. And heading into game 3, we'll see if they can figure something out here, because they do have that first
Trial
pick.
version.
They ban the Udyr.
I think blue side Udyr bans, very smart. I'd like to see Thresh banned away here by DRX. I think that he was a big
Trial
problem
version.
in the last game. And could certainly be one of those options. Rel's still available. Samira, Seraphine?
Seraphine,
Some of
option.
those.
Trial
Option.
version.
Kaisa. I think they'll probably go down the Kaisa path here.
Luckily, Seraphine is banned, so I don't need to try and say the name anymore. But KT, let's see what they
Trial
first pick.
version.
I think first pick Thresh makes some sense, and they are
there
going to do it.
Okay, this is, we've seen quite a few players in the LCK willing to do this because their Thresh is so
Trial
good.
version.
And, Zeus is one of them, so...
Agreed. I think the last POG that he picked up was also on the Thresh.
The other thing that that you have to consider is
Trial
if you leave
version.
the Rel like this, then it becomes very scary. But Rel, with against a Thresh, it's hard to be as aggressive in lane. It can be
Trial
very good in
version.
team fights. And the big pairing you used to see with this was the Samira, but with the current changes to Samira, don't think we'll see that. And here we go, already same combo on the bottom
Running
lane.
it back, boys.
Trial
Running
version.
it back. Let's see what DRX are going to change up in the bans. They could just take away the Gragas and Orianna to deny what KT put together last time around. Looking for magic
Trial
damage in
version.
top lane is actually a little bit more awkward now than it was in the past. Cannon not necessarily as valuable as he used to be, so a Gragas ban is certainly smart, as
Trial
there is a
version.
Gnar picked up here for Kingin.
Yeah, blind Gnar as well. I mean, you could ban away some of the aggressive counter picks, you know, like the Jace, you know, the Aurelia is still an option, though. The Camille is still an option. There are really good ways for KT to crush this when it is picked blind like this, even with 2 bans available. And the Aurelia is taken away, but you can't stop everything. And this is a big criticism we had of KT's first draft in game number 1, where, you know, the Udyr just totally crushed the top side of the map with the Jace pick. So,
yeah. I mean, the Jace, probably not going to be available. Of course, Doran is a pretty good Jace player, so I would like to see a ban on that one. Lucian to be taken away, and you see Lilia, and you think, let's get some physical damage into these solo lanes, and that is an understandable one there as well.
Trial version.
Yeah, I mean, if you gave the Lucian away, you'd have a lot of lane priority. Works well with the Lilia. Can be terrifying. Which one do you choose here, though? Like, do you ban the Jace? Do you ban the Camille? It's rough. These aren't champions that Doran has played a lot this year, but the Sion ban here, an interesting one.
Yeah.
Trial version.
Wanting to get rid of some more of that front line that Jinx does absolutely love, of course. So just trying to stop KT from having a very comfortable front-to-back late-game team fighting composition.
Yeah, it's usually banned when you have yourself or trying to play strong side with.
Oh my god, DRX are just going to pick Jace mid. That would be cool.
version.
I'd like that.
Would be fun.
As there's Tristana taken away.
Let's see where KT goes with this, because the Sion ban is really interesting. There's the Orianna, shocker. But where do we go here for KT in the top side of the map? Because the Sion ban is really interesting, because usually that's against stronger, heavy kill potential pressure top lane, not the Gnar. So Ukel's Victor, final pick here. This happens so many times. This is like where they lock in Aatrox.
Oh, and there is the cannon.
Okay. I mean, I like this a lot.
And they had the Gragas that they could have gone towards yet again, but they decided not to do it. Looking for a little bit more just CC lockdown, keep people in the Chaos Storm, keep them in the Death Rays, things like that, not wanting to disrupt too much.
DRX's comp is fairly squishy too, so it ends up working out. We'll see the 5th pick, Kai'Sa.
Yeah.
Almost thought she was going to slip through the draft, but she's always coming back. But yeah, the cannon pick here can certainly help give you a lot of lockdown to these squishy targets. You know, outside of the Gnar, depending on how he builds, it could be really squishy in this game, but it's going to be able to really shut down a lot of what DRX wants to do in team fights if he can get into position to do so. The scaling is really good with KT's comp, with the Victor Jinx for the later parts of the game. So as long as things don't go out of hand in the top side of the map here again for KT, I really like their draft this time. Of the 3, this is the one that really feels like it comes together the best.
They don't have a lot of frontline. That's the thing that I'm a little bit worried about, is the fact that, yes, Kennen, he will get in there, right? And if you have a Zhonya's, then you're going to have a bit more staying power. But you're not that big body to head into the front line to keep your Jinx safe. And so much more is now going to be on Zeus's shoulders to make sure that he can always keep Hybrid in the right position, and they can utilize all of their burst damage and CC in order to keep DRX out, because it doesn't feel like your quintessential front-to-back Jinx-style composition.
So much of this game is going to depend on Doran, on this Kennen's, in these team fights. The other thing to consider is insane wombo potential on the side of DRX. I mean, Yar comes in, has a big stun, you have a follow-up Orianna ball. I mean, it doesn't matter the order. There's a huge Lilia sleep, and then Rel comes in, and it's like, uh-oh. So you really have to make sure that you're split really well as KT, while also team fighting around Kennen, setting up those stuns in the back line. We're going to have to see a lot of flanks, I think, from that Yordle from the top side of the map.
Yep, and also, I mean, Kennen doesn't beat Gnar in lane necessarily or anything like that. I think that we're going to see top lane be a lot more competitive than it was in either of the 2 games, right? We saw Doran get smashed in game 1, King got smashed in game 2. Doesn't feel like it's as cut and dry here in game number 3. So we are onto the Rift finally. I can't believe that we're saying game number 3 after what was such a crazy game 2. And once again, Hybrid, I mean, this is KT, and they have a champion that literally has a buff called Get Excited. And that is bad news. I'm certainly feeling for a lot of the KT fans out there after this particular series. I hope you guys hang in there. I know it's difficult.
It's been a rocky road for KT, right? Like expectations were pretty low until Blank was announced, and people got a little bit excited. And then KT had a shaky start to the season, but Yukao looked like a really shining star for them. Doran had his moments. You know, after the first loss to Rascal, he kind of came back. And then Blank really found his way into the team. They beat T1 in that telecom war, and it started to feel like, there's some hope for KT to have a solid showing here.
Yeah, and they won this matchup the first time of asking as well.
Yeah.
Against DRX. This is when we thought that KT might be more of a real deal than we would otherwise expect, and they still have a chance of walking away from this series with a victory, which would be huge. Winning any match against teams ahead of you in the standings means so much, especially as we only have 4 weeks to go.
It feels like KT have really, they got so figured out, and their drafts were so transparent.
There's a crash down. Bit of a play back there. Zeus is going to activate his Aftershock and not take too much damage. DRX just trying to vie for some position in this lane. Looks like level 2 should be gained pretty comfortably here by Hybrid and Zeus.
Trial version.
Before Becca has 2, he's not going to be able to be as aggressive, but yeah, it feels like KT's drafting style was so transparent, so figured out that, I mean, any team could just draft face up against something. You knew what they were going to pick. You knew it doesn't matter what the comps are. UCal's going to play Victor, and I mean, it's like, here we are again, but I think that's part of the reason why they struggled. They tried to change up their roster a little bit. That hasn't been very successful. Feels unfortunate if you're a KT fan, because there was, for a little bit of time there, a little bit of hope that, hey, this could be maybe even top 5, top 4 KT roster. So, and now, we're back to maybe they don't make playoffs.
Well, we did mention the fact that top lane would be a lot more even, as you can see. In the LCK, it is quite even between these two champions. This dates back quite a long way when the two of these were certainly far more meta in seasons past, but see how it does go, as it is going to be airy this time on Doran, so wanting a little bit more lane presence than a lot of our, unsealed spellbooks and things like that we have seen, even Conqueror coming out on our last cannon that we saw.
So it's definitely a lane-focused choice. Rather than trying to look for better, consistent damage, which is what the Conqueror will give you elsewise. We are going to have traded scuttles. Our observer's really thinking maybe Becca's going to go for an all-in or something like that, but that's not happening here.
Pretty good win rate so far for Doran on the cannon in his career.
Yeah, only 16 games for a champion that's been out this long, but still very high win rate, almost touching the 70 mark there.
Yep, a lot of those games, of course, when he was playing for DRX last season. Certainly Cannon was feeling like much more of a meta pick back then. Still slinking around the outskirts of the top lane.
Trial version.
But not necessarily as popular, even nearly as it was last year, of course. Thinking about players like Nogri and the Shy, who did get a lot of work done on the Kenny.
Do you see ㅅ2021 is hovering around the top side of the map while it's pushed, and after he gets these Krugs, he may actually be able to make a play here. There's a ward, really well placed though, to be able to spot this out. So I don't think Doran is going to get caught here. As it disappears, I believe, right before he comes over, so he doesn't have vision.
Yep, there's a big wallop as Doran trying to get out of there. The flash does come through, but immediately ㅅ2021's going to follow. There's the watch out. EP lands every button. The last Q will do it. First blood once again. Going over to ㅅ2021.
I was watching that because that's actually the jungle path you want on the top side of the map when your lane is getting pushed in like that, and he just has an easy opportunity. And the thing is, there was a ward. It actually timed out right before this. It's actually insane. Like, I was watching that on the minimap. The ward times out as he passes over it. So he just simply doesn't know, and he has his false sense of security because he had a ward right before that. The timing, it works out so perfectly for ㅅ2021 to end up going there. If we watch the replay of it, I want to check the minimap, make sure I'm not crazy, because I'm pretty sure it timed out like right as he was coming over.
A little bit unfortunate for Doran theoretically, but now doesn't have a flash, and I believe Kingen held onto his as we do. Head on in here.
No word when he walks over it. It timed out right beforehand. I mean, it's just so much damage.
It was really, it's not exactly the most difficult of plays, but hit absolutely everything, did ㅅ2021. No hesitation on the flash either, knowing that definitely wanted to go for that one, as now Solka's getting collapsed on by everyone. And there's the flash play. Solka's going to flash the right direction, but Gideon just gets into point-blank range and destroys the Clockwork Lady in the mid lane.
Well played here from KT. Just punishing a little bit of an overextension there. The flash was nice from Solka, the angle, I liked it, but between the Chaos Storm and all the damage that Graves has at this stage, you're not going to get out of that one. Not really about the CC, it's about the damage as Kingen.
Yeah, another Mega Gnar wallop situation as the Slicing Maelstrom does come through. Gideon in position, but Kingen is able to get himself out of there. Airy being a little bit frustrating, as we can see. But now Kingen finds himself not really knowing what to do as he's falling behind just a little bit, close to 2 waves behind right now. As DRX get a bit of control here of the bottom side of the map. As finally Zeus will make his way back in. His flash now on cooldown.
Trial version.
DRX might be able to find some sort of priority here towards the bottom side, especially with ㅅ2021 lurking.
Hybrid and Zeus is getting pushed, so not able to help at all. There's prio, there's vision. They know that there's no vision, rather, because of the control ward. They have 2 control wards on their side, but nothing on the Drake, and I think they've got a good idea this is happening, but with mid-prio too, there's no way out of this one. There's no way to block this one. ㅅ2021 has Smite. Easy cleanup. We're going to go back and watch this exchange in the mid lane as Zeus comes all the way up for this too. And look at this, he gets the flail. This flash is really nice to block the hook from connecting, but it just doesn't matter. It's about the damage more than the CC at that stage.
Yep. And of course, you know, Gideon did invest his flash. Zeus invested his, but Yukal didn't have to flash, so he's going to continue to have a bit of control. In this lane, you can see Solka's still able to get the shove. But look at all of the vision, especially defensively here for KT. Lining the river on the top side of the map, and also just keeping an eye on the bottom side as well. Having said, they did get the Drake stolen away from right in front of their eyes, so it's a little bit unfortunate, but not the end of the world, as we do have Mountain Drake to come through for our second, Infernal or the Cloud. It's going to be our soul here today.
Trial version.
Oh, well, I'm casting with you, so I know where my money's at. Yeah. So statistically, it's not, you know...
To be honest, you know, we did manage to win the 50-50 in game number 1. Got the Infernal instead of the Cloud. Not bad, not bad. As Hook is going to go wide.
I don't believe in
playing defensively.
I don't believe in superstition, but... With these Cloud Drakes at the beginning of the season, I was like, okay, this is starting to look a little bit whack, and then it started to be like a little bit whack the other way. I'm like, we're not getting any more of these anymore. Like, what's going on?
Sometimes, you know, statistics
RNG
write themselves, you know?
RNG works in mysterious ways, I suppose.
Yes, indeed.
Well, a bit of a lull state in this game as the first Drake was taken by DRX, and we've just got a little bit of a lack of objective type of game here in the early stages of it, but I've liked Bao and Becca, or rather Hybrid and Zeus, excuse me, have looked really solid in lane with this Thresh Jinx. It's a really scary combo to think about when no one else is playing her right now so far here in the LCK.
Well, I haven't really had a chance to, right? As this is the first match that we have on 11.4 where people do feel like Jinx is in a much better spot than she once was.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if that becomes something we see from more other teams, or if it's just kind of a KT exclusive.
Yep.
It gives them a lot more flexibility in draft. And this is actually the part of KT that's looked the weakest, right, historically, is the bottom lane. So to see them look very comfortable on these champions together, and it clearly have shown some work and some practice in improving that synergy going into a game like today's. You like to see it, because it's been very much the Dora and Yukal show for KT Rolster otherwise.
Yeah, I actually think that not banning the Thresh was pretty disrespectful here for DRX. I think Zeus has been very, very good on this champion. So we'll see whether he's going to be able to once again
Caster Blessing?
A POG-worthy performance. He's going to do a bit of a drive-by here towards the bottom side.
I thought maybe he was about to have like the hook of his life on the bow right as you blessed him.
Trial version.
Well, we do have a Rift Herald at the ready for Gideon, who was able just to get up there and take that one. Hook is going to land here on the bottom side, as that's the Cards of Blessing that we were talking about. Bao's going to get flayed back as Hybrid, taking a fair bit of damage, and Becker actually is going to keep himself up, and unfortunately it was a Cast a Curse, not a Blessing, as Zeus is going to get pulled back there, and the hook is going to connect. Bao could be in trouble, but not before he gets himself a double kill. And again, Tract and Repel comes through. Rel is just pretty damn good, as it turns out. There is a Gnar into the wall. Kingen finding the boulder there as well, as Doran gets very sleepy at the inopportune time and will be taken down as well. And DRX coordinated. Strike all over the map.
I mean, you're not supposed to be able to get away with a big play like this on the bottom side of the map as well as the top, but this is a defensive turn for DRX, which means they don't need their jungler to make the picks happen on the bottom side, so it's actually a rotation to the top to be the second kill onto Doran in the game. It's another great play from ㅅ2021, really nice timing.
Yeah.
And things are starting to get a little bit out of hand here early on in this game. I mean, it feels like for for DRX now, you're like, well, doesn't matter if we got jungle nerfs or not. We're starting to accelerate the Lilia. As watch this happen again. So it's a nice hook, and in the follow-up is there. You have the extra synergy there with the traps, but Rel is just so powerful in these moments where she can set up a Magnet Storm and then get a double attack repel. And then Bao is just ready to follow up here with the Killer Instinct. And then they even, I mean, obviously it's going to be a double, but they even commit the exhaust onto Gideon just to make sure.
No, I actually really like that exhaust. Otherwise, Gideon could have actually done a lot of work there, but just immediately denied. And the fact that the exhaust was still available, that's the nutty thing. As, yeah, Doran just stunned up forever.
Trial version.
Taken down.
Yeah, it's nasty. Nasty still out there in the top lane, and that's the unfortunate moment where they get to make the call to go because Pyosik is nearby, because they know that Gideon is showing up on the bottom side with the play that's being made. You have to assume that Gideon's nearby, and then they get confirmation that he is. So they just press the go button. There's no counter gank potential. And I mean, besides a very slight gold lead to UCal in the mid lane, DRX have complete control over this game.
Yeah, Gideon gonna cross a ward here. As once again, Doran's going to get Nard. He's taking a lot of damage here from Kingen as well. He's just thrown boulder after boulder. Is this the solo? Yes, it is. So easy. Just throws a UFO into the rat's head, and he is taken down. Kingen killing the solo killer. Yeah, on the top side of the map solo.
I mean, this is Kingen's Gnar, but it is also just a misjudgment by Doran. I mean, at this point in time, he had Hextech, Alternator, and Sork Shoes. That's all he's got. Like, you don't have the damage.
He was 0-2, right? Yeah. Like, you need to give the Gnar a bit more respect.
You really do. And I think he was a level down on top of it all because of that. So,
and now he's 2 levels down.
Yep. Not to mention that he's going to find himself down a turret here, it looks like. Pyosik is ready for more if he does decide to try to fight this with the wave here. They do not have vision of Pyosik whatsoever here.
This is actually really cute, wanting to make sure that he gets even more than just the turret. As Kingen going to move on over, gets himself a ward down, and now he's just hoping that this cannon is going to be taken before Doran can get any experience from it. Does so very comfortably.
A kill, 2 assists, all turret plates, and the turret before 14 minutes.
That's not bad, is it? It's not bad.
Trial version.
Pretty solid here. At least with, you know, the catch there on Pyosik, KT are able to trade this Drake back. And it's a cloud.
There it is. Well, we got 3 different ones. We're missing the Ocean Soul for our collection of souls so far today, so I think this is okay. Sure. See who's going to be able to get all of them. Stride breaking complete here for Kingen. He's got himself some pants and some shoes as well. And the Gnar is in a very good spot. Leandri's already done here for Pyosik as well. DRX feeling reinvigorated.
This is a very different KT, you know, where it feels like the bottom side of the map is where things are most stable, right? That's where they got the turret plates. Smashing CS right now.
Yeah.
Gnar makes a lot of noise.
He does. Certainly does.
Can we turn that off for spectator mode, please?
Seraphine and Gnar, man, they are very noisy. And Lissandra here in Korea is she's obnoxious as well, but she's not in the currently.
Don't jinx it, Max.
She might be coming back. We'll see. I actually like Lissandra metas. I know she certainly did get overplayed, but you know, the wombos and stuff like that is certainly fun.
She's a fun champion. Definitely, I mean, I'll take her over some of the ones we have right now that are in the mid lane. Yep. Okay, well, this is just Doran getting tossed in, and he's just not showing the respect like you mentioned.
Well, now there's flashes out, but it's not going to get them anywhere. Gideon, he's going to die. Well, is Kingen going to survive? The answer is yes. Gets that flash over the wall, as now Pyosik is able to dance his way around, but does want to disengage now. Not exactly the tankiest little Lilia that we have ever seen. A Super Mega Death Rocket is going to go wide, but unfortunately for Hybrid, Kingen was nowhere near the vicinity.
I think Kingen was just trying to make sure that Pyosik got the kill. That's what it felt like in that moment. I mean, he's now 3-0. He has his Leandri's completed. I feel like this is a game where Pyosik could have even gone for Night Harvester with how it's gone, and how KT's lack of frontline could really be a problem.
Gideon, just a bit of a drive-by there?
Yeah. Pyosik's like, okay. Just gets the flash forward, gets asleep, and Kingen is 100% on board. He's stunned for a really long time.
Yeah,
real dead. The auto. Yep, and then Joshik's like, I want more.
Goes in, picks it up. Nicely
Trial
done.
version.
6-1 now, the kill score for DRX is they have about a 4,000 gold lead. A little bit less, but as this turret goes down, that will in fact be true.
Trial version.
And KT struggled to win a game when they had an 11,000 gold lead, Wolf.
Yeah.
How are they going to do when they're behind in gold?
I mean, that's a question I
Trial
think
version.
no KT fan wants us to answer, but
Yeah.
the sad truth is this is so many of KT's games in the second half of the round robin, and really at the
Trial
end
version.
of the first round robin as well, where it's like, okay, well, how many times have I said, well, if UCal's Victor pops later on, I mean, there's still a chance, there's still hope. It feels like I'm a bit of a
Trial
broken
version.
record on that throughout the games of UCal I've cast. They put Dove in, he was playing some Azir, right? Things changed, the identity was a little bit different, but when there are games like this, even when the bottom lane is stable, right? Because that's been a big question mark for Hybrid.
Yeah.
But he's doing quite well with this duo with the Jinx Thresh. But even still, it's like he's not ahead. He's just not that
Trial
far
version.
behind. And that's not good enough. Especially with this Lilia that is running away with the game.
And also Hybrid and Zeus got, 2v2 killed on the
Trial
bottom side of
version.
the map, just with better play coming out from Bao and Becca. Bao certainly made some mistakes in the second game, but also had a lot of really good moments when they
Trial
were
version.
with their backs to the wall. I think that last Killer Instinct was, you're about to lose the game there. Anyway, it's not like you're going to be able to save it 2
Trial
versus 5,
version.
so you may as well go for your hero play wherever you see any slight opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, they had the Elder buff. The idea is maybe he gets a ton of executes. Could have tried to hope
Trial
for it under the
version.
turret, but with the reset potential there. Like, I don't actually criticize him for that play. I think a lot of people were very upset about that, but
Yeah.
I think the game was well and truly over, whichever way. It was choose your own adventure,
Trial
the exact
version.
loss.
And he wanted to go out with a bang, and I respect that. Gideon's going to come through, try and grab his popcorn chicken, does so, as DRX are slightly
Trial
unable
version.
to take this out of turret. Zap is going to connect onto Becca. And Pioshik going to steal away a red buff. He is taking a lot more control of the jungle than he
Trial
did in
version.
game number 2. That is absolutely for sure.
Both of these, really aggressive starts for DRX have been so based around Pioshik's
Trial
ability to set
version.
up plays in the top lane, right? I mean, this is the same thing that happened both games where you shut down KT's best player, Doran. In a matchup, I mean, this is his
Trial
counter pick as
version.
well, the Kennen. And he just gets totally obliterated because of really nice rotations from Pioshik and a nice punish. That word timing out, actually
Trial
affected this
version.
game so significantly, and it just keeps going. Okay, Kingen might be in trouble now. He has
Could
got
be.
the bar.
Yeah, he does have Nasu, the Mega Nasu. I think he should be okay.
Trial version.
Had the Crush available as well as the first Cloud Drake should just go over to Pioshik here, as there are a lot of people on the top side of the map.
And he knows it, and, Cloud is
Trial version.
pretty good for Lilia,
Yeah,
especially Lilia that's fed.
likes making people sleepy and also likes moving quick, so I don't mind that one whatsoever.
Trial version.
Make people sleep and then run fast. I like that a lot. As UCal just going to tidy up this bottom lane of minions. He's been pretty quiet so
Trial
far
version.
today, but does have himself an assist on the Victor.
Yeah, when he's not playing the Azir, it feels like these games happen where
Trial
he just sits
version.
back and either he gets ahead early on for some trades in the mid lane, he gets assist gold or gets some kills, then he pops off in the mid game, or we're just hoping for him to be able to
Trial
recover in the
version.
late game. So many times, he just does not have vision to actually mess around here. He's going to have to walk away.
Yeah, Pioshik is just stealing
Trial
everything away from
version.
Gideon. I do like this snowball that DRX have going on. Feels like they have tidied up the play from game number 1. Oh, sorry, game number 2.
Trial version.
Game number 1 was fantastic out of DRX. They do like to make sure that these series go the distance, though. And now, game number 3 certainly feeling a whole lot better.
Trial
Ahsoka
version.
getting a bit of damage here onto UCal as they're just pretending that the bottom lane is the mid lane.
Yep. I have a gentleman's agreement between mid laners who become side
Trial
laners.
version.
And, this game for DRX is pretty cut and dry. If KT tried to take more control over the map and take vision away, or try to go into the
version.
red side of the map, then it's just, they have potential to be punished if KT has to sit back, and DRX is like, well, I'm just going to take these objectives on cooldown then. And that's kind of where we're at in this game, so it ends up being a bit of a lull state once again.
And you can see Pioshik going for Majora's Masks, all masks any percent here in League of Legends. Has a couple of them already
Trial version.
completed. I'll see whether he can fit any more into the build. Not likely. As in goes Bao once again. He just loves the killer instinct. Loves pressing the button. Hybrid's going to be able to take a lantern to get himself to safety, but if that lantern wasn't there, maybe he was just dead.
Yeah, I mean, it's... You set up these threats, sometimes you can make somebody press the flash button and scare people. In this case, it's just a lantern trade. The cooldown on this ultimate is not that incredibly long.
Oh! Cosmic Drive's a mask, isn't
it? It is. That's what I was actually...
Yeah, that's the third.
Yep.
And that was buffed on this patch. Here we go. Here's the flash in from Doran. Looking to take down Sulker. They will do so pretty comfortably here, as that's a field goal from Kyoshik. Looking for the sleeps. Does find it. As the Victor's going to get sleepy there towards the top side. Doran's going to go down what feels like an afterthought once again. And it's a double kill for Kyoshik, who is now 5-0-0.
This is what happens when you try to make a play like this, when there's such a quick rotation around, or the quick rotation speed for DRX, not to mention that they didn't have vision of where that rotation was going to come from. Now, this is a little bit overzealous, I think, DRX.
Certainly ambitious, as Kingen looking to go in, stride breaker down, looking for Gideon off to the side. He's been exhausted now. Zeus and Hybrid trying to get into this fight. Remember, you need a lot of help as the Jinx, and the Graves also need some as well. As Kingan's just going to throw a boulder into the back of the head of the AD carry on KT's side. Yes, they do get them off the Baron, but DRX just feels so much stronger than KT right now.
They're just able to split KT up. Hybrid and Zeus on one side, and then...
Trial version.